Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. Now, on the John Campea Show, every day, Monday through Friday in the mornings, we save some time at the end to take live questions. But here on the weekends, on Open Mic, that's all we do. It's just kind of like an open radio call-in talk show, talking about our favorite things, movies and movie news, a little bit of sports here and there if we want, or anything else going on in the world. And it's awesome having you here today. Had a good time last night. It's always fun when there are UFCs. Me and some friends, including Dennis and Soul Video, we go out into Hollywood and watch the fights. Great fights last night, including the Anderson-Israel fight, which was fantastic. Just a fantastic fight. Had a great time. But anyway, we're here to talk about the stuff you guys want to talk about here today. So we're not going to waste much time, and we're going to dive right into it. So let's go over to the live chat board right now and see what you guys are wanting to talk about. And the first thing we're going to talk about today comes to us from Roman Bryant, who writes, I know this is silly, but damn, that Jaws poster is terrifying to this day. Oh, it always has. I'm telling you what, that was a scary movie to me as a kid. I still remember my mom, every once in a while, my dad used to go to a bowling league. And at that bowling league, they had a video rental counter at a bowling alley. That's just, I don't know why they did, but they just did. And my dad rented a Laserdisc player, and he got Jaws. And we watched Jaws at home, and I remember as a kid being so terrified, I asked my mom to come and sleep in the room with me, because every time I closed my eyes, all I saw was the damn shark. Jaws was a terrifying movie. And you know what? As much as the effects don't hold up today, the movie holds up today. That movie to me is still freaking terrifying. I still think that movie is freaking terrifying. I love it. All right. Let's move on here. Let's see. Where are we at? Jedi Lori writes, did Mary Poppins break even at the box office? As far as I know, it didn't. Like the last time I checked, I believe Mary Poppins cost around $130 million to make. And the last time I checked, it made about $330. You roughly, look, every film is unique and different, but a general rule of thumb is you roughly need to make around 3 times your budget in order to break even. And at $330 million, it didn't break even. I mean, and look, there was a time before I saw the film that I really thought Mary Poppins could potentially be $1 billion film. And then I watched it, and I was like, nope, because frankly, the movie's just not that good. And I was so excited. I heard all this great stuff about it, and I thought it was going to be wonderful. And then I saw it, and I was like, this ain't good. I'm not recommending people see it. I'm not going to rush out, and I'm not coming back to watch it again, and I'm not going to drag other people to come with me to go watch it again. And if people say, hey, should I go see Mary Poppins or some other movie? I'm going to say some other movie. And if I'm doing that, I know a hell of a lot of other people are doing that too. And it to me was one of the bigger disappointments of the year. Now, the movie wasn't garbage. It's not garbage, but it was one of the bigger disappointments to me of the year. Henry Stevens writes, hi, recently sent that Han of the Dead joke comment. I don't remember that one, Henry, but okay. Could you describe it to Robert next time he's on? Would love to see his reaction. I don't even know it myself off the top of my head. So if maybe tweet something to me and maybe I'll see it, but I can't remember it off the top of my head, Henry. Ben Rayner writes, regarding Rock's tweet about Oscars, I think it was a joke. Because don't forget, Kevin is also in Jumanji, and he's also in his schedule. Yeah, I don't think it was a joke, because there was nothing about it that made it look like a joke. It just looked like somebody asked him, man, you should host the Oscars. He goes, I was actually first choice, and we were planning on doing something really cool. We were planning on doing something great, and we wanted to make it work, but I just couldn't get it to work with my Jumanji schedule. So I don't think it was a joke. I know there are people out there who thought he was just joking around. Because when you see tweets of Rock joking around, it's clear he's joking around. This didn't strike me as that. This was him responding to another person, and it sounded to me very matter of fact. So I know there are some people who think he was joking, and maybe he was, but I just don't think he was. There's nothing in that tweet that makes me think he was joking. Gabe Shamburger writes, forgive me, but to me, you've been dead for centuries. Oh, that's Eobard Thawne talking to Cisco in the first season. I believe it was season number 1 of The Flash. I love that first season. Forgive me, but to me, you've been dead for centuries. Just as he's killing him. Great line, great season of television, that Flash season 1. That was a great season of television. All right. Gabe follows up with Barry and Henry scenes in season 1 of The Flash. Oh, yeah. I mean, I could sit here, Gabe, and talk all day about season 1 of The Flash. I love that season. And it's weird to think about it now, but I didn't even like the idea of them doing a Flash TV series when they were first coming out with it. That was a dumb idea. And then I loved it, fell in love with it. And this season's been pretty good too. All right. Jaron Morris writes, thoughts on my favorite show of all time, Boston Legal. Oh, I loved Boston Legal. I thought it was great. Now, hold on a second. Now, there was Boston Legal. Wait, was Boston Legal the original or the spinoff? I think it was the original. Because I think the sequel... No, the original was The Practice, I think. And then the spinoff was Boston Legal. I loved it. The way that show would end almost every time with James Spader and William Shatner, Denny Crane, sitting on that rooftop overlooking the city on their leather chairs, smoking cigars and drinking bourbon or something like that. And it was great. I think William Shatner actually won a couple of Emmys for that. I mean, everybody will remember Shatner as Captain Kirk, but he got his most critical acclaim for playing Denny Crane. But I used to love that show, man. The Bessie Nessie writes, thoughts on Lars Tier films. It's a mixed bag. Lars von Tier, I should say, he's a provocateur. He tries to push the envelope in a lot of ways. Sometimes it works, and hence you got some people consider him a genius. Sometimes not so much. To me, he's a little bit of a hit and miss filmmaker. Kevin Ashish writes, hi, can you ask the person who told you Ben was exiting the Batman about Henry? Because everyone's saying different things. Don't know what'll happen. Fingers crossed. Well, I mean, no, I don't go out digging for scoops, and I don't go, sometimes people volunteer information to me and send me information. Not often, but sometimes they do. I don't go around asking people, hey, break confidentiality and tell me something. If somebody wants to do that, that's on them. But I think scoop digging is fucking ridiculous. I really do. But anyway, sometimes every once in a while, somebody will just volunteer a piece of information to me, and I can evaluate whether I believe it. And guys, believe me, I get fed a lot of information that I don't share with you, mostly because I usually think it's BS. And a lot of the times it turns out to be BS. Sometimes it turned out to be true and I never said anything about it, but whatever. I just hate that stuff. With Henry, it all comes down to this for me. Warner Brothers was point blank asked, is Henry Cavill still your Superman or not? And instead of saying, yes, he's still our Superman, they said, while we enjoy working with Henry, and we always will, we currently have no plans for another Superman movie. You just answer the fucking yes or no question. It's a simple question. Is he still your Superman? But then again, I mean, they lie all the time, right? Like, remember a year and a half ago's Comic-Con? When all the reports, I had been telling you Ben was out as Batman, the Hollywood Reporter then came out months later and said he was out as Batman, and they still put on this big charade at Comic-Con. Oh no, Ben's still our Batman, everybody! And we all knew they were BSing. But they lied because that was the right marketing move. But no, I'm not going to go digging around for information or digging around for scoops. That's just not my thing. All I can tell you as a fan, looking at the scenario, if, and that's a big if these reports coming out that Superman makes a cameo in Shazam, but it's not Henry Cavill and they never show the face, why not have Henry Cavill? If Warner Brothers gets asked point blank, why not even lie about it and say, yes, he's still our Superman? I mean, they just said, we've loved working with Henry, but we have no plans for Superman right now. What is that? Yes or no or what? And that was their official statement. So I just believe he's not, but we'll have to wait and see. Javier Riaz 405 writes, thoughts on the Avengers' new costumes? I don't believe we've seen the new costumes. There was that little thing coming out but it's like a product thing. And the weird thing was like Black Widow in the pictures that came out had red hair, but we've seen the trailer. She doesn't have red hair. So I don't know. I don't know that we've seen the new costumes. I mean, we saw Ant-Man and War Machine in their costumes. but I don't think there's been any official photos released, unless you're talking about something else that I'm not thinking of. Topher Rocks writes, do you think Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent is an underrated performance? I don't think The Dark Knight would have been the same without him. I don't think it's an underrated performance because I think he gets a lot of credit for the performance. I thought he was great as Harvey Dent, but I've never talked to anybody that doesn't think he was great as Harvey Dent. You know what I mean? So for somebody to be underrated means that people didn't think much of it. But ask anybody, how do you think Aaron Eckhart did in Dark Knight Rises? Everybody will say, oh, he was great. He was great. Yeah. So on that level, no. I mean, and it is unfortunate that he gave that performance in the same movie that Heath Ledger gave the performance of his life in, playing the Joker, and he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for that. And because of that, he gets a little overlooked. Does Aaron Eckhart's performance in that movie get a little bit overlooked? Yeah, I'll say that. Underrated? No, because whenever you ask anybody, they're like, yeah, he was great in that for good reason, because he was awesome in that. Let's see. The Bessie Nessie writes, you've helped me with many hardships. Thank you. I don't know if that's a movie quote, and I don't know if that's what you're actually saying to me. If it's what you're saying to me, it's truly my honor that the film fan community can be here for you to give you that oasis away from other things. And that's one of the great things about film and the film fan community. If it's a movie quote, then you just completely stumped me. Damien writes, do you still watch the NBA? I watch some. Like, me and Ann will watch Lakers games once in a while because Ann's dad used to love watching Laker games. So Ann's a big Laker fan. Actually, my favorite player for a very long time has been LeBron James. So yeah, when there's big games and stuff like that, I'll watch. But I don't go out of my way to plan my evening around watching a basketball game. Playoffs become different. I watch a lot of basketball in the playoffs, but not tons during the year. I watch, like I said, when the games are on and Ann and I are home, we'll watch the games. But it's not like, ooh, do you see OKC and the Rockets are playing next Tuesday night? Scratch that into my calendar for next week. Keep that night open. Like, I don't do that. But yeah, when it's on and Ann and I are home, we watch. Okay, over under 20%. Nolan will do the next James Bond film. I'm going to take the under on that. I do believe it's a possibility. But I wouldn't say it's likely. So I'll say it's a chance. There's a chance. But I wouldn't put money on it, so let's wait and see. So I'll take the under on 20%. Ben Rayner writes, as favorite opening scenes, Tom Cruise in Austin Powers. Yeah, that was good. That was clever. That was a clever one. But that was like more, to me, Ben, that was more like a moment than a big opening scene. You know what I mean? To me, that was more of a moment, but that's a good one, though. There's no doubt it's a good one. All right, Damien writes, there's a rumor from an unnamed source from Reddit that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the next Batman in Reeves' film. Yeah, of course there is. Of course there is. And by the way, even if such a report came out, that wouldn't be impossible. Why not? Why not Joseph Gordon-Levitt? I mean, think about it. There would obviously be no connection to the character he played in Dark Knight Rises. So there's not like there's any conflict there, right? So all joking aside, why not Joseph Gordon-Levitt? I'd be totally down for it. I think that's as good of a chance as anybody else, right? So why not? Okay. Murray Reich writes, so this random AMC theater in New York City just happens to be the first one to have the order food/drink option on phone before the granddaddy Empire 25. Well, it's not the first. The first was the AMC Burbank 16 because we've had that there for a while. But that makes sense to me. So for those of you who don't know what Murray's talking about, a while ago, AMC started a pilot program in just a couple of their theaters. And it's wonderful. So as an AMC A-List member, and you don't have to be an AMC A-List member to do this. So I open my AMC app, and my AMC app starts to open there. So here it comes. So I can, buy my movie tickets and whatever. But the cool thing is, though, once I buy my ticket, It will then give me the option, if I'm seeing the movie at AMC Burbank 16, if I'm seeing the movie there, then what happens is it will give me the option then, hey, do you want to order your food in advance? And so I go, yeah. So I order, my standard order, a popcorn and a soft drink. Let's say Ann wants a hot dog and a bag of M&Ms. Okay. So popcorn, soda, hot dog, bag of M&Ms. And say, okay, great. That will be $372. And I'm like, okay, $372. And then I put in the order and I pay for it with the app. And then I tell it what time I'm going to be there. Now, so I'll be there at 7:10 p.m. because my movie starts at 7:15. I'll be there at 7:10. So then what I do is I show up at the AMC Burbank 16, and there's this shelf thing there on the counter. That's the pre-ordered food pickup area. And there at 7:10, there will be a box there with John Campea written on it. And inside the box is my food that I ordered. So I grab it, and away I go. Anyway, they've been testing this in just a couple of theaters, and it sounds like now they're opening up. Now, I would get why they're doing it at some smaller AMC theater if they're testing it out in New York, because that would be I would guess you would want to work the kinks out first before putting it in. And by the way, the AMC Empire 25 is the busiest movie theater in North America. That AMC Empire 25 is the busiest movie theater in North America. So that's not the best place to test out a new program. You'd probably want to do it with a smaller one in New York first before moving there. So that would make sense to me. But I'm telling you guys, I love this system. I love not having to stand in some stupid freaking line to order my popcorn. I just show up at the theater and it's there waiting for me. That's the way of the future. All right. Pool of Dead writes, Wanda was destroying the Mind Stone with her one hand, holding off Thanos with the other. She's the real MVP. By the way, 25 days till Captain Marvel. Very excited about Captain Marvel. Tell you guys what, I actually just got my premiere invitation. So I didn't know if I was going to invite to that premiere, but I did. I talk a lot of shit about, I've talked much shit about Disney in the recent while. I don't like how they botched the James Gunn thing. I don't like how Alan Horn handled all that kind of stuff. I continue to think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a bag of shit and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I can get invited to this, but they invite me to this stuff. So I'm going to that Captain Marvel premiere. Very excited for it. But another very exciting thing, by the way, is that they are lifting the social media embargo like 3 weeks before the movie opens. 2.5 weeks, but like 2.5 weeks before the movie opens, they're lifting the social media embargo. That doesn't always 100% mean the movie's good. But most of the time when a studio does that, it means they got confidence in this film. They believe you are going to like this movie, and therefore they're lifting the social media embargo early. So we'll see how that all turns out. I don't know that she was the real MVP. I mean, she slowed Thanos down a bit, but Doctor Strange went toe-to-toe with Thanos pretty good. Tony had a good go at Thanos. Steve was going fist to fist with Thanos, not even using like the magic armor that Tony has. He was going fist to fist with Thanos, landed a couple of shots too. Thor came this close to just killing him. So I don't know that I'd say Wanda was the MVP, but she had some great moments. One of my favorite moments of Scarlet Witch, actually, in Infinity War, is when she comes down and wipes out all the enemies and stuff like that and lands. And, what's Danny's character's name again? I forget Danny's character. The head of the Dora Milaje. She turns to Black Widow and she says, why hasn't she been down here the whole time? It was hilarious. I love that moment. It was so good. Anyway, but yeah, 25 more days till Captain Marvel. I'm getting actually kind of excited about it. Big Four Dam and Alfie Gamer writes, hey, John, what do you think of Vincent D'Onofrio's performance in Full Metal Jacket as Private Pyle? One of my favorite films. Stay filthy, big man. I will tell you what. I really like Full Metal Jacket. I don't remember that Vincent D'Onofrio was in it. I don't remember. And now, granted, it's been a long time since I've watched Full Metal Jacket. It's had to have been at least 15 years since I've watched Full Metal Jacket. I really like that movie, though. Oh my God, I totally forgot that. And of course, the great Arlie Emery, who just passed away recently. Everybody remembers him in there. What a cast. Matthew Modine, Adam Baldwin. Yeah, just great cast. And of course, directed by Kubrick and all that kind of stuff. I totally forgot that was Vincent D'Onofrio. So look, I will say this. I must have liked him a lot because I love the movie a lot, but it's been like 15 years since I've seen it, so I can't go into too many more details than that. But man, thanks for reminding me about that. I totally forgot. Sem Pygar writes, my brother found a replica Supernatural car on eBay. We would probably have gone in on it together if it wasn't $26,000. Yeah, it's too steep. Guy did an amazing job. I've got, my brother-in-law Ray bought me a replica Supernatural car. But it's this big. It's a little like hot toy, or a little little model car of it, and I love it still. Yeah, if it was the car they used on the show, I'd probably for $26,000 I'd buy it. But that's probably going to go for like $600,000 when it's all said and done. I'd be tempted, but 26 is a little steep. 26 is a little steep. All right, Murray Reich writes, saw the Lego Movie 2 and thought it was good, but left feeling the first one was way better because it had more charm and laughs, lack of Lord Business too. Yeah, I mean, I feel almost the same way. You didn't have to have Lord Business in it. That's fine. You move on, you have other villains. And by the way, I thought the Queen, whatever Watanabe, was a good villain. You think? Anyway, but I won't go into anything. But so it wasn't the fact that it didn't have Lord Business so much, because there's a little bit of Lord Business in there. It just wasn't as good. You know, and that's the word you're using there, charm. I agree. It lacked the charm that first one, that surprising charm that the first one had. And the first one had more laughs. There are laughs in Lego 2. There are laughs. And it's an entertaining little film. In the world of thumbs up or thumbs down, I give Lego Movie 2 a thumbs up. It's an entertaining little film. But I couldn't help but leave a little disappointed because it was significantly less good than the first one. Like, How to Train Your Dragon 3 isn't quite as good as 1 and 2, but by just a little bit. To me, there's a significant distance between how good the first Lego Movie was and how good Lego Movie 2 is. Still good, still entertaining. Still funny, but it wasn't special. No pun intended. It wasn't special like the first one was, but anyway, that's how I felt. Let's see here. Murray Reich writes, 300th episode of Supernatural was very good and emotional. I liked it very much. I thought it was great. And again, just seeing Jeffrey Dean Morgan back as John Winchester, does the heart good. Does the heart good, ladies and gentlemen. That was great to see. And they pose an interesting conundrum for the episode. They didn't just do a lot of times these TV shows that have 100th episodes or 150th episodes, they make an episode that's kind of the greatest hits of this show so far. And they just do a lot of flashbacks. I like that they didn't do that, but they still did something special by bringing their dad back. Big thumbs up from me. And I love the way it ended. And I can't help but wonder, with the way it ended, with John Winchester waking up in his car, if that doesn't keep the door open a little, that they may do more stuff later. We'll have to wait and see. All right, Ben Rayner writes, remember in Man of Steel, that satellite had the Wayne logo from the Nolan films? Does that mean they were in the same universe the whole time? Yeah, I remember when that came out. When Man of Steel is coming out, and that shot was out there of the satellite, and it's got the Wayne Industries logo on it. That was, if not exactly the same, very similar to the Wayne Industries logo that was used in the Nolan films. And so many people got so excited. Woo! It's the same universe as Christopher Nolan's films. And we kept trying to tell, no, it's not. It's not. Yes, it is. See, it's the same logo. That means that Christian Bale's Batman could show up. No, he's not. But I remember people got so excited about that. But yeah, I remember that. That was just them giving us a little wink, but maybe they tried to be shit disturbers. I don't know. Who knows, Ben? Maybe they're just trying to stir the pot a bit. All right, Sem Pygar writes, Brock Boser on the Vancouver Canucks looks very close to Prince Charming from Shrek 2. Check it. All right, I will check that out. Give me a second here. I don't know who we're talking about, actually. Brock Boser. Images. Let's see here. You know what? Oh my God. Okay. Let me pull up another. Let me pull up a Prince Charming picture here. This one? This is a decent one. Okay. So this is interesting. Okay. So here's. Ooh, that's not going to work. Hold a second. First of all, let's start with this. Okay. So here's Brock. Here's a picture of Brock, right? So now let me see if I can find a half decent picture here of Prince Charming, because yeah, you kind of got me a bit here. Let me see if this will work. Okay, there's Brock. There's Prince Charming from Shrek 2. Brock, Prince Charming from Shrek 2. I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what, Senpai Gar, that's not too terribly far off. Let me see if I can get them a little side to side here. Give me 1 second here. Let me see if I can get them a little side to side. Okay, just a little side to side. There we go. Here's just a little side to side action going on here. I tell you what, you got me. I completely concur. If they do a live action version of Shrek, they need to go and get this Brock Boser kid to play Prince Charming, because, yep, you got me on that. That's a good one. Good eye. All right. Kian Shingler writes, "Hey, John, thanks for replying to my message yesterday. Thought to mention my name is Kian, not Clan." Oh, yeah, I might have accidentally said Clan at some point, depending on how I saw it. Not to worry, still love your show and agree on the Ice... Oh, you asked about the Ice Age. Agreed on the Ice Age sequels being bad. Yeah, so Kian brought up on an open mic yesterday, asking about the Ice Age films. And my thought on the Ice Age films was simply that, you know what, the first one's pretty good, and we forget, because all the subsequent films were so bad, we forget that first one was actually pretty darn good. And it was. That first Ice Age film was really, again, kind of like that first Lego movie. It had charm and humor and had heart. And the voice performance, it was a weird voice cast, right? But it worked, and it worked really well. And I just dug it a lot. It's just, we forget about it because of how bad all the other ones were, right? So there was that. But anyway, thank you so much, Keen. I appreciate that. And thanks for watching the show, and thanks for enjoying the show, and thanks for sending that in. I appreciate it, man. All right, let's move on here to Darth Wayne 97. And Darth Wayne 97 writes, "Don't let yourself get attached to anything you're not willing to walk out on in 30... Oh, I know what this is. Don't let yourself get attached to anything that you are not willing to walk out in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner." The key word there is heat. That is, oh my God, but what's that, Robert De Niro or Al Pacino? Well, Pacino was the cop, so it must have been De Niro. So De Niro, that's Robert De Niro from Heat. Great line, great conversation. I mean, the funny thing about Heat was, a lot of people got excited. Oh my God, first time since Godfather that Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in the same movie, and they barely had any screen time together in the movie. But the movie's still good, and how great was Val Kilmer in that film? Val Kilmer was awesome in that film. But yeah, that's that one. And again, I might be wrong. It might have been Al Pacino, but Al Pacino was the cop. So that sounds something like De Niro's character would have said. So I'm going to stick with De Niro said that. Spencer Main writes, "This song's going to get stuck inside your head." It is, for those who haven't seen it, that is one of the songs in Lego Movie 2. And they're right. This song's going to get stuck inside you. And it does. It does. The song gets stuck inside your head. And that's the name of the song. And Robert saw Lego Movie 2 with me a couple weeks ago. And next day we're in the studio getting ready to do the John Campea show. And we're both like, bum, bum, ba, bum, bum. It's like, it really does. The song gets stuck inside your head. It's crazy. It does. ZeroG Ruler writes, "Had a teen crush. Mine was a Canuck, Avril Lavigne." Oh, Avril Lavigne was adorable. Yeah. When I was a teen, it was, why am I forgetting The girl from Friends. Why am I forgetting? Hold a second. Why? She was married to David. Hold a second. I don't know why I'm suddenly freezing on Courtney Cox's name. It's Courtney Cox. What was? And she was married to David Arquette for a while. I had a massive crush when I was a teenager on Courtney Cox. Courtney Cox is who I had the big crush on. And I may to this day still have a crush on Courtney Cox. I am neither going to confirm nor deny that. Liam Donahue writes, cooler ship, X-Wing or the Viper from Battlestar Galactica? May surprise you to hear me say the Viper. I love X-Wing fighters. X-Wings are awesome. But the Vipers? Yeah, I mean, I'll take Star Wars over Battlestar Galactica, but the Vipers? Coolest space fighter ship ever in sci-fi. I love them. What's so crazy about them is the design completely holds up. From the design they used on those ships in the original Lauren Green series all the way up to the Ronald D. Moore one, they look awesome. I love those Vipers. They are my favorite things. Absolutely, I go with the Vipers. All right, Dim-Sum05 writes, where did it go? Oh, there it is. JC, I'm not going to pretend that every account that sends an acronym riddle super chat is secretly Kevin Malone attempting to save time. I'm going to pretend that every account that sends an acronym riddle super chat is Kevin Malone saving time. Oh, I mean, Kevin's a character from The Office. I don't. And then why waste time when few... that's right. That's from the episode of The Office where Kevin, I can't remember, it was either his mechanic or his dentist or something doesn't speak English as a first language. And Kevin's like, why waste time when few word do trick? Like when he's trying to talk in short, abbreviate. Got it. Now I get it. Save time, CC World. Very good. But that's true, right? I keep asking people, please don't put in acronym riddle things because it just takes too much time. Taff3 Full writes, would you be interested in a Matrix reboot? No, not at all. I think enough time has passed to start the franchise over again. I mean, Ghostbusters got one, so why not? Ghostbusters was a hell of a lot older than The Matrix. I mean, at least a decade. Look, you know my thoughts on remakes and reboots. I'm all for them. Do them. I have no problem with, and nothing is off limits. And reboot anything. Reboot The Godfather. Reboot Star Wars. Reboot the MCU. I don't care. Reboots are fine. As long as the original one isn't still ongoing, go ahead and reboot. I don't care. Because if it's good, great. And if it sucks, oh well, I still have the original. Yay, we all win. There is no reason not to do reboots. None. There is no logical reason to not, there's no compelling reason to not do a reboot. Unless the series is ongoing already and you're interrupting it, do reboots. I don't care. But if you're going to ask me, is that one that would be high on my list to do? No. Am I wanting a Matrix reboot? No. If they announced that they were doing one, sure, go ahead. Go ahead. I have no problem with that. But do I want one? No. To me, The Matrix is still new enough. It's classic. It's great. It's still referenced a lot. I don't see any need to do one right now. If they did, totally fine with it. Totally fine with it. But that, nah. And by the way, with Ghostbusters, see, you can do, it was a different Ghostbusters. With The Matrix, I don't know, man. I don't know how different you can make it without just pissing everybody off. So, yeah, I'm going to say if they did it, I'm fine, but I wouldn't want one. I mean, I wouldn't be asking for one. Let's put that. I'm not asking for one. All right, Dimsum05 writes, what's the better movie, Captain America 1 or Dark Knight Rises? Captain America, the First Avenger is the better film. And I say that for a couple of reasons. Number one, Captain America, the First Avenger is one of the most underrated comic book films. I mean, I would say Man of Steel is more underrated. I would say the first Thor is more underrated. But after those two, I think the next most underrated film is Captain America, the First Avenger. That movie's awesome. And The Dark Knight Rises is good, but it's one of my least favorite Kevin Nolan. It is one of my least favorite Christopher Nolan films, even though it's still good. It's just that the quality difference between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises is a night and day. But I like The Dark Knight Rises. I'm not crapping on it. I like it. It's a good movie. But Captain America, The First Avenger is the better movie. That's my opinion at any rate. Now, if you were to just say The Dark Knight, well, then The Dark Knight's the better movie. But yeah, Captain America, The First Avenger is better than The Dark Knight Rises, in my opinion. All right, Patrick Conway writes, I really hope we will see Loki, Vision, and Scarlet Witch at full power in their shows. How great to see the full power of the God of Mischief. Again, you're confusing, Patrick, the comic books with the movie verse. And you got to be careful not to power up everybody to 11. It just doesn't make for interesting television or interesting movies. It's fine if you have a couple of characters and go to 11, but if you just start putting everybody can go to 11, then it gets boring. And remember, I think we have seen Loki at full power in the movie. That's how powerful he is in the movies. But in the comics, well, this isn't the comics. And you don't want everybody to go to 11 or whatever. Right now, they got a character coming in who goes to 11, and that's Captain Marvel. And, Kevin Feige's already said she's the most powerful being in the MCU. Okay. So we got that coming, but we don't want to put everybody there. Like, oh, she's going to be that, and Vision's going to be that, and Thor's going to be that, and Scarlet Witch is going to be that, and Loki's going to be that, and this person's going to be that, and that person, and everybody goes to 11, and then it's like, well, then now it's just kind of boring. So I want to see them do it however they're going to do it. I mean, I don't care how powerful they say any of them are. As long as they're consistent within their own universe, and they make them compelling and good stories and all that kind of stuff, then I'm totally good. All right. Let's see here. Guitar Dude 513 writes, would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck? Hashtag justice for Hans Gruber. Yippee-ki-yay. I'm assuming that's probably from some movie and I cannot remember what it is. Would you rather, let me look that up. I just want to see, would you rather fight 100? Oh, apparently it is a quote. Hold on a second. I don't know. Is that a popular saying? I've never heard it before. I don't know what it's from. I would rather fight one horse-sized duck. There we go. I'd rather fight one horse-sized duck, because then I just got to worry about one thing. Just Plain Steve writes, did you check out the debut of the AA? I don't know what the AAF is. Saw some familiar names and some great plays, but felt a little meh. Oh, is that the new football league? I didn't even know it was starting. I'm anxious to see it. I'm curious to see it because I love football, but I did not see that. I didn't even know the damn thing was starting. So no, but I have to go back and check it out. Let's see. There was a question. I want to point this one out. There is a question here that was sent in by, I believe, a Paul M. My apologies, Paul M. I had to delete your question because it contained a spoiler for a movie. And you know the one I'm talking about. I know you didn't mean to, but somebody might have been upset by it, so I decided to take it out. Apologies. We got to be careful, guys, when you're putting in questions, especially about movies that are just in the theaters now and revealing stuff in the questions that people may not have a chance to see yet. Just be careful, guys. Just be careful. All right. James Hoffman writes, I skipped Hunter Killer in the theater because of bad reviews, but I rented it and loved it. It was pure popcorn fun and great submarine action. I don't know, man. I skipped it because I thought the trailers weren't all that good, and it was getting absolutely brutal reviews. And it was getting brutal reviews from people I know who went to go see it and came out and told me, oh my God, that movie's so awful. So I took a pass too. But Gerard Butler, who was in Hunter Killer, he has been in a couple of movies that have gotten really bad reviews that I love. Most significantly, of course, is what's it called? The Awful Truth? Is it The Awful Truth? Hold on a second. What's the name? The Something Truth. I'm going to try. A second. Truth. Gerard Butler. What is the Ugly Truth? Not The Awful Truth. The Ugly Truth. I love The Ugly Truth. The Ugly Truth is gold. I love that movie, and it got trashed by everybody. So, Gerard Butler does have a little bit of a track record of films that really get hated on that I really like, so maybe I'll have to give Hunter Killer a shot too. All right, thanks for sharing that, James. Okay, Jordan Marshall writes, "Hey, John, how are you? I'm having a great Sunday, Jordan. I hope you are too. Just a quickly, do you think that Spider-Man Far From Home has way too many villains? From my count, it's 4, and Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 couldn't handle 3. No, don't worry about that at all, Jordan. Look, Avengers Infinity War had 8,000 villains. No, really, they had about 8,000 villains. They had Thanos, they had the Black Order, they had their space dogs, about 1,000 villains. You had the Collector in there. Depending on your view of Nebula in there, you just had villain after villain, 6,000 villains. Well, it's all depending on how they're used, right? X-Men had like 9 villains in it. You had Toad, Sabretooth, Magneto, on and on and on and on, Mystique, and then a bunch of other characters. Well, it's not about how many villains appear. And by the way, those elemental things, they're going to be minor parts. Minor parts. You're going to have one villain in the film, and that's going to be Mysterio. Just like Avengers, yes, there were like 7 or 8 villains, but really there was one villain. They didn't divide the time up between, each member of the Black Order had as much time as Thanos on screen. No, they each had a scene or two. They each had their moment. And then usually just used for fight, for cannon fodder for the Avengers to fight. But that's not having too many villains. Lots of big comic book movies have tons of villains. But really, they have one. And then the other are just there filling out the cast. I have no doubt there is but one villain in Spider-Man Far From Home, and that is going to be Mysterio. Those elemental guys will pop up, and they'll play a role, but not significant. And in no way would I say, well, oh gosh, now we have 3 main villains. No, it's one. And lots of comic book movies do that. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that one little bit. I wouldn't even give that a second thought. Now that doesn't mean the movie's going to be good. The movie may still suck. Or it could be awesome. I don't know, but I do know this. I'm very, very confident. The movie has but one villain, and that's Mysterio. And don't worry about all the other henchman villains that are around, because every movie has your villain and then a bunch of henchman villains, and we don't worry about those because they don't eat up screen time. So, yeah, I think it's perfectly fine. Nothing for us to worry about, Jordan. I think we're safe. All right. Damien Davies writes, Nicholson in 89 Batman terrified me as a kid. Frick, man, that dude terrifies me as an adult. This town needs an enema. He played that. So look, there are still a lot of people that believes Jack's Joker is still the best Joker we've ever had. And for good reason. Now look, his and Heath Ledger's Jokers are very different Jokers, right? They're very different Jokers. So I would not argue with anybody who thought Jax was better. Now, me personally, Heath is still my favorite Joker, but I would have no argument against anybody who thinks it's Jax, because Jack's Joker was incredible and very, very different from Heath's. But yeah, I dug it a lot. All right. Let's move on here. Jacob Ibarra writes, Hey, John, have you read Dwayne Johnson's business partner's recent comments about Black Adam? Their production company was involved in making Shazam, and they're looking to start Black Adam in 2020. Yeah, I saw that, Jacob, but I don't know. I wasn't even planning on talking about it on the John Campea show tomorrow because because I'm getting a few people writing to me, and when a bunch of people write to me about an issue, I'll bring it up and I'll talk about it. But here's the reality. If I had a nickel for every movie that never happened, that at some point one of the producers attached said, yeah, we're going to get rolling on that in about a year, and then it never happened, I would be a rich man. Now, I am not saying that they're not going to finally go into production on Shazam next year. I'm not saying they're not. But dead serious, man. If I had a nickel for every time I heard some producer give an interview, oh yeah, we're gonna aim for that for next year, and then the movie never happens, I would be totally rich. I would be completely rich. Bottom line is, what they said means nothing. Means nothing. Could be true. Could be true. And I'm not going to fall out of my chair in shock if it is. But it's just that I've heard that so many thousands of times for movies that never happen that I don't really give it much weight. I don't give it much weight at all at that point. Now, I'm just curious here. One of the big problems I see with that, hold on a second. Dwayne, I looked up Dwayne. If we look at Dwayne Johnson's thing, Dwayne Johnson has no fewer than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 films that have either been announced or in pre-production. All right. He's currently working on Jumanji. He's still got to do Red Notice. They've already committed to San Andreas 2. Then there's still him talking about Big Trouble. He still says he's still doing Big Trouble in Little China. They still say he's going to be doing Doc Savage, I should say. So when is he supposed to do Black Adam? Again, I ain't saying it's not going to happen. It's totally possible that it happens. But these guys that work with his company saying that it's going to happen, to me, doesn't increase the chances at all. It's still possible, could totally still happen, but yeah, don't take that as any sort of confirmation whatsoever, my friend. We will just have to wait and see. Hopefully, it's been over 4 years since they announced Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam. Years since they've announced him. So it's just one of those things where I'm to the point, my friend, that it's like, I'll believe it when I see it, Jacob. I'll believe it when I see it. But it's possible. It's totally possible. Just don't get your hopes up based on that one comment. Mick Quack writes, Hello, Mick. Do you think a Superman cameo in Shazam will be like a jobber? No. P.S. Remember to save your voice. Those weekend shows might be a little too long. Yeah, we tend to go as long as questions keep coming in on the weekends because I don't have any rush around here. We just have time, and I go as long as I can. I know somebody else asked that the other day, actually, McQuack. Somebody else asked, do you think the Superman appearance will be a jobber appearance? Nah. I think if anything, it'll be a quick cameo. And I believe the cameo would be like a thrilling thing, like, oh my God, Superman showed up. Like, it would be a very reverent thing. Now, there are reports out there that could very well be total BS, and I suspect they're BS, but there are reports out there that are claiming like Superman shows up at the end of the movie and everybody geeks out that he's there. You don't see his face, you just see a silhouette and the crest and all that kind of stuff. And everybody's like, oh my God, it's Superman. Like, it's just a quick little thing. Again, maybe totally BS. I kind of suspect it's BS, but maybe it's true. But if it is true, that kind of goes out as well. If Superman cameos, it's certainly not going to be to job. It's certainly not going to be to job. I really hope Hamada has more respect for the Superman character than those dolts over at the CW shows who have turned Superman into a jobber jerk over there. Anyway. Damien Davies writes, Marlon Brando and Gene Hackman headlining Donner's Superman movies, and Jack Nicholson in Batman 89 movie lead was the way as marquee names in the genre. I'm not quite sure I understand what you're asking. Marlon Brando and Gene Hackman headlining Donner's Superman movies, and Jack Nicholson in Batman 89 movie lead the way as marquee names in the genre. Yes and no. The interesting thing about that was, like, the Marlon Brando was such a small part. So, not a headlining name by any stretch of the imagination. The Gene Hackman turn as Lex Luthor, that's more of an interesting one. That's definitely the more interesting one because that was a more major character. But again, it wasn't the lead character. The leads were Christopher Reeves and Margot Robbie. I'm freezing on names left, right, and center. Hold on a second. Why am I freezing on Canadian girls Margot Kidder. I kept wanting to say Margot Robbie. Margot Kidder, a Canadian girl. They were the leads of the movie, and Gene Hackman was the third-tier villain. A significant role in the movie, third-tier villain, though. Batman was Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Like, that was Batman. Marlon Brando in that original Superman, just a very small part. Still kind of revolutionary that he even appeared in a superhero movie, but a little bit different. Jack and Batman was a big one. Yeah, that was a big one. But then the genre went to crap, right? I mean, you had Batman 2 with Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny DeVito, yeah. And then you even got into, Batman Forever, where you had Jim Carrey, you had Tommy Lee Jones. I mean, you had names still. And then the genre got run into the ground. Then it took a while. And then it reemerged. But yeah, those are some good examples. C Spice writes, are you going to go to the screening of Captain Marvel? Social media embargo lifts on the 19th. I may or may not get invited to a press screening of Captain Marvel. I have been invited to the premiere. Sometimes I get invited to premieres and I get invited to press screenings, but sometimes it's like, hey, there's only so many chairs to go around. If, I know, with Warner Brothers, when I get a premiere invitation to Warner Brothers, I don't get a press screening invitation. So I guess they just kind of, hey, don't complain about not going to the press screening. You get to go to the premieres, and that's true. Sometimes Disney, when they invite me to a premiere, I get that and press screening invitations. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just get the premiere invitation, which is all fine. That's all fine. Either way, it's fine. If I do get a press screening invitation to Captain Marvel, I'll go. Star Wars movies, DC movies, Marvel movies, I'll go to those press screenings. I don't go to many press screenings anymore. It's not worth it to me. But for those franchises movies, those I will go. And I will let you know as soon as I do. Okay. Let's see here. Gerald Quintana writes, thoughts on Israel versus Silva, passing of the torch? Well, number one, it was a great fight. But number two, it was not a passing of the torch. It's only a passing of the torch if Silva was still the dominant middleweight in the world. He was ranked like 15th. He was beat, although he beat Michael Bisping, but on paper, the judges gave it to Bisping. Bisping beat him. Daniel Cormier beat him. Anderson Silva hasn't been Anderson Silva for a long time. But oh my God, last night, that was one of the most entertaining fights I've seen in a long time. It was two master strikers, martial artists, doing some crazy stuff that I'm just getting chills thinking about it. Anderson recaptured a bunch of the magic, but to say passing of the torch, no, because Anderson hasn't been Anderson for a long time. Anderson's been beat by other guys and been beat like he got stopped by Daniel Cormier. It went to a decision. It was a very, very close fight, but magnificent fight, passing of the torch. No. The opportunity for that to happen was years ago. It's been a long time. I mean, Weidman beat him twice. Chris Weidman beat Anderson Silva twice. If there was any passing of the torch, that's the passing of the torch. And that was years ago. So, no, I wouldn't say passing of the torch, not at all. And he's 43 years old, right? So, anyway, let's see. Patrick Conway writes, over under 60% we see Asgard settle in Norway in Endgame. Don't know. I'll take the under 60%. I'll go way under 60%. It's possible, though, because we don't know that the Asgardians that escaped that initial Thanos attack at the beginning of Infinity War, we don't know that they just made a beeline for Earth. They may have gone somewhere else to take refuge. Maybe they went to Earth. Maybe they didn't. I'm going to guess under 60% for now. For now, I will take the under on 60%. Well, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but 60% seems kind of high to me, so I'll take the under on that. All right. Let's see here. James L.H. writes, hi. Mentioned Leave No Trace with Foster. I'm going to guess you mean Ben Foster. You talk 310 to Yuma, like you, going in thinking Western, Bale, and Crow, count me in, left thinking Ben Foster. Wow, absolutely. I could talk a whole hour about that. Ben Foster is a tragically underrated performer in this business. Every time he's in something, he steals it. He was in The Mechanic with Jason Statham. He stole The Mechanic. And I love Jason Statham, but he stole The Mechanic. He's in 310 to Yuma with two of the greatest actors of our generation, Christian Bale and Russell Crowe. And this guy that most people hadn't even heard of at the time, Ben Foster, comes in, stole that movie from both of them. He upstaged both of them. And they were both very good in the movie. Ben Foster stole it. Again, he was magnificent in Leave No Trace. He's magnificent in 30 Days of Night. He's just great in everything he's in. He's a tragically underappreciated performer. And it's really cool to see that you have that same experience as I did watching 310 News. Like, holy crap, this Ben Foster kid is crazy good. He didn't show it when he was Angel in X-Men 3. He didn't really have a chance to show it. But this guy is crazy, crazy good. I'm a huge fan of Ben Foster. Huge fan of his. Let's see. Patrick Conway writes, best buddy C films, Lethal Weapon, right? Oh, buddy cop films. Lethal Weapon's a big one. And I feel like somebody asked me this recently, and I said, and I did pick one. I'm trying to remember what it was. It wasn't Tango. Tango and Cash is great. Lethal Weapon's great. Man, I would have to think about it. But Lethal Weapon films have to be right up there. Guitar. Oops, missed it. Okay, here we go. Guitar Dude. 513 writes, I really hope The Witcher is Netflix's Game of Thrones. Seems like that's their target since they are getting it out the year Thrones ends. Look, it's just like everything else to me, Guitar Dude. I hope that everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. No, everything that's coming out, I hope is awesome. I hope everything that comes out is great, because then there's a new thing for us to love. But yes, I particularly am pulling for Witcher, not just because it's Witcher, which is cool, but also because it's Henry Cavill, and you guys know what a big Henry Cavill fan I am. So, yeah, I'm going to be cheering for it. I'm going to be cheering for that hard. Now, what I think people should not do, and I admit I do this, but we all are doing this, I just hope we learn to stop, is Game of Thrones is one of the most celebrated television shows of all time. It's unfair, both to ourselves and to a show like Witcher, for us to place that type of expectation on it. That's just unrealistic and stupid of us and unfair. And yet we're doing it. We're all doing it. But it's stupid of me. It's stupid of all of us to do it. Let's rein it back a bit and just go, hey, I hope The Witcher's good. Let's just go there. How about we go to, hey, Witcher, I hope you do well. Because, you don't send your kid off to play hockey. Go ahead, kid. By the way, I expect you to score more goals than Wayne Gretzky did. Huh? Yep, and you're going to be a terrible disappointment to your mother and I if you don't. What? Like, that would be ridiculous. You just tell the kid, go out and do your best. Go do well. I think we are setting ourselves all up for disappointment if we go, Witcher needs to be the next Game of Thrones. That's stupid. That's like every movie that comes out. Oh, this one better be as good as The Godfather. No movie's going to come out and be as good as The Godfather. How about we just hope that it's really good? So let's go there. But again, I'm not bagging on you, Guitar Dude. I do this too. And I just think it's really dumb of us to do it. And we need to reel those expectations back in. Because the same conversation comes up right about Amazon and their Lord of the Rings show. It's going to be their Game of Thrones. Then I catch myself and I go, well, maybe I should just reel that in a bit and just hope it's good. Just hope it's enjoyable and does justice to the source material and we like it. How about we just start there and we'll worry about comparisons to one of the greatest television shows of all time and one of the most celebrated TV shows of all time. How about we save those comparisons for later? And let's not put those types of expectations on. But I'm excited for it. No doubt we're all excited for Witcher. Can't wait to see it. Okay. Enrique305 writes, Batista as an actor, solid or bad? Fan since the Man of Steel review. Well, thanks so much, Enrique. I'll say this. Dave Batista is a serviceable actor. In the hands of the right director, he is a serviceable actor. There are things, and he's developing and getting better, by the way. His best work was in a very short appearance in Blade Runner. That was some of his best work. He is clearly, visibly getting better and better. He ain't there yet, but in the hands of the right director, for example, the masterful way that James Gunn handled Dave Bautista in Guardians of the Galaxy. He knew what Dave Bautista did well, and he knew what Dave Bautista couldn't do well. So what did James Gunn do? Well, he did what a great director should do. Make sure that Dave Bautista playing that role is in situations that his strengths can be highlighted and that his weaknesses are hidden. Let's not get him to do a big 2-minute long dramatic monologue. That's not his ball of wax. That's not his lane. So keep him from that and just put him in a position to succeed. That's what Denis Villeneuve did with him as well. But he's getting better and better. So I am not going to say he's a bad actor, but I'm also not going to say he's a solid actor yet. What I will say is he has morphed into a serviceable actor. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, by the way, was in that, Dwayne Johnson was just getting by in his charm. But eventually he progressed to the point that I went, you know what? He's not just a gimmick anymore. Dwayne Johnson's a serviceable actor, especially when I saw him in Faster or The Snitch. He's really quite good in both those films. And then eventually I got to the point where, okay, now he's not just a serviceable actor. Now The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, is a solid actor. Not one of the 5 greats in the business, but a solid actor. Dave Bautista isn't there yet, but he's already crossed into that serviceable actor territory, and I like him very much. And if he keeps improving the way he is, he will also, like Dwayne Johnson, will cross into that solid actor category. He's never going to be one of the great thespians, and that's fine, but he's constantly shown improvement, and I always look forward to seeing him on the screen. Let's see. Ben Rayner writes, is that hair gel? There's something about Mary. Probably the best moment. First of all, there are multiple great moments in There's Something About Mary. Multiple great moments. But that has got to be the hair gel moment. That's not gel. The hair gel moment is one of the greats in any comedy movie ever. That's a great moment. All right. James L.H. writes, about Disney and Fox. I like reading film history like old studio system, Big Five, MGM, Paramount, Fox, RKO, WB, and Little 3, Universal, United Artists, Columbia. Disney not in there. How things have changed. Yeah. It's weird for us to think about that. But it wasn't that long ago that Disney was a very, very minor player. A very minor player. They were the cartoon one, right? Oh my God, that's changed. And you're right, James. That's great. Going back to history gives you a little bit of perspective, right? Because anybody who's 21 years old today, you probably ask him, how long do you think Disney's been a major player in movies? You probably think forever, right? Probably, and for understandably so. It's hard to imagine a time when Disney was not the dominant player on the block. It's difficult to imagine a time when that wasn't the case. So to some 21-year-old going, Disney's been around forever, you can't blame them for thinking that because it's hard for us to imagine when Disney wasn't the dominant, player in the game. I mean, just like for a lot of people, it's hard to imagine a time when the New England Patriots weren't the dominant football team in football. Or when such and such wasn't the dominant this. It's just been a part of us for so long, and they've been so dominant, it's hard to imagine a time. It's like trying to think, you know what? There was a time when Facebook wasn't nothing. What? Yeah, there was this little thing called MySpace. And by the way, everybody thought MySpace was going to be around forever. And then poof, it was gone. Same thing's going to happen to Facebook at some point. But anyway, history, James, gives perspective. And I love the fact that you brought that up and the way you're looking at history as a bit of perspective. All right, guys, I'm going to take just a couple more. And then we're going to take a 3-minute break so I can rest my vocal cord because we've been going for an hour and 5 minutes now. I'll just give my vocal cords a little bit of a break. I'll go refill my drink and we'll get rolling again. But we're going to take 2 more questions, then we're going to take a short break if you guys will indulge me a little bit. All right. Roy L. writes, watch the documentary on Andy Whitfield on Netflix. It was fantastic and I teared up halfway through. Have you seen it? I did not. You know, it's funny you mentioned Andy because Andy, his co-star, of course, Andy Whitfield, for those of you who don't know, Andy Whitfield played Spartacus. Now, there were 2 guys who played Spartacus because Andy had to back out because he was battling cancer. And it was too bad because he was a magnificent Spartacus. I loved him. He was great. My friend, Erin Cummings, who was on the John Campea show a couple of weeks ago, and you've seen me do my one-on-one interview with her. Erin adored Andy. Erin played Spartacus's wife. She played Andy's wife on Spartacus. And whenever Andy comes up, Erin still gets very shaken. Like we can't talk about Andy without her getting a little emotional. And Andy, by the way, one of my favorite moments of Comic-Con, I used to throw a Masters of the Web party at Comic-Con. It was a big deal. And anyway, Andy Whitfield was at my party. And they had just announced that his cancer was in remission and that he was coming back to Spartacus. And we were all excited, and Andy was at the party, and I got to hang out with him, have a drink with him. He hung out with Anne for a bit, and it was just so great. And then it was like 3 months after that, after what I heard, he's in remission, he's going to be coming back. And then like 3 months later, Andy died. And if you want to hear a real gut punch story, listen to Erin, my friend Erin, tell her story about how she found out. Now, she knew he was going to die soon. She and Andy were emailing back and forth, but yeah, the day she found out, that it's a shaking story. It's a shaking story. But anyway, I did not even know such a documentary was on Netflix. It's called Be Here Now, an Andy Whitfield documentary. I gotta watch this. I had no idea it was out there. Thank you so much, Roy, for putting that on my radar. I gotta check that out. Okay, and Andy was great. Andy was so great. Okay, let me move on here. We're going to take one more question here before we take a quick little break here. Randy Guzik writes, what are the reasons Spielberg will not use Nazis as bad guys anymore in any Indiana Jones film? Is it because of Schindler's List? Asking because I know your passion for the 1930s Raiders films. I just think he's moved on. I mean, to my knowledge, which is limited, to my knowledge, there's no like definitive reason why Steven Spielberg, it's just that they moved on, right? Indy got older, the Nazis, the World War II wasn't happening anymore. They moved past it. So if anything, Randall, you would have to come up with a really good excuse for having Nazis anymore because the Indiana Jones films went past World War II. So I mean, they were the big villains in 2 of the original 3 films. In the first one, obviously, and in The Last Crusade. And then by the time we got around to Indiana Jones and Nuke the Fridge, the Nazis weren't the thing anymore. So there's no reason, it's not like he's refusing to use Nazis, that there's no narrative reason why you would have Nazis. Now, again, my Indiana Jones is that era, right? I would love a rebooted Indiana Jones. And I know to some of you that sounds like sacrilege. I don't care. I'm all for reboots. I would love to see more Indiana Jones set back in that era. I would love to see more Indiana Jones set back in that era. So reboot that damn thing. But no, I mean, don't do Nazis in 1973. Don't do Nazis then. To me, there's other stories to tell, so that's kind of how I see it at any rate. But to me, that's the main reason why. I don't think it had anything to do with Schindler's List. It's just that the Indiana Jones story did Nazis as their villains a couple of times, and then time ran out. Nazis weren't a thing anymore, really. So that's how I kind of see it. All right, guys. I am now going to take a quick 3 or 4 minute break here, if you will so indulge me. I'm going to run, like I said, gargle a little bit of salt water, refill my drink, take a little bit of a breath, and then I will be back in 3 or 4 minutes. If anybody else comes along saying, hey, where's John? Just say he's just taking a few minute break. We'll be right back. So hang in there with me, guys. I will be right back in just a couple of minutes. Hang in there. See you in a second. And we are back. Thank you so much for your patience, everybody. I just had to gargle some salt water, refill my drink, put on some pants. Is that too much information? Anyway, and now we are back and ready to get things rolling again. All right, so let's dive into it once more. And we are going into Griffith Olindy writes, Olind. Okay, Griffith Olind. Thank you for putting that pronunciation. You guys know how much I struggle with names. Thoughts on the new AAF Football League? Again, somebody brings it up. I didn't watch it. I did not watch it. I should have watched it. I'm curious to watch it. I love having my football. So let's put it this way. In theory, I like it a lot because it gives me more football. So in theory, I dig it. But I haven't seen it yet to know how well it's working out, but hopefully I will do that soon. All right. Your best bet writes, favorite comic book writer and artist. I'll tell you what. Hold on a second. Just because I want to bring up the name of this thing. Hold on a second. I mean, the main one right now, obviously, is Brian K. Vaughan, who did Saga. He did Runaways. He's just done a whole list of things. I'm trying to look up and remember who wrote Injustice Gods Among Us. Hold on a second. I can't find a writer's name. Oh, Brian Chiard and Dominic, and John Vogel, John Greenberg. Anyway, just because I don't know the other stuff that they've done. It's hard to get away from Brian K. Vaughan, though, because Brian K. Vaughan has written like a lot of the most celebrated graphic novels of the past like 5-10 years. So it's hard not to say that. All right, let's see. Ben Burnside writes, I honestly feel that Westerns are particularly underrated in their storytelling. This especially goes with their simple yet very effective villains. I don't know if you can say Westerns are underrated. I mean, they ruled Hollywood for a long time. So I don't know that I'd be comfortable in saying Westerns are underrated. They were the king of the hills. Like what comic book movies are today, Westerns were for a long time. I mean, they were the lead dogs and everything. So I don't know that. And again, the Western genre, many of them were similar and all that kind of stuff. But quite often, one Western would be for instance, a Western like The Good and Bad and the Ugly is a very different film from 3:10 to Yuma, right? You take a Western like Liberty Valance was very, very different film from Unforgiven. So they're very different. But there was a basic philosophical construct to their villains. The old classic Western villains, there wasn't a lot of gray with the villains. They were very black and white. And that is not a bad thing. There are times and there are films when that's exactly the kind of villain you need for your story. And definitely Westerns had those. Like the bad guy was the bad guy. What was the one with Sharon Stone? Was it The Quick and the Dead? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Hold a second. Quick and the Dead. I think that was from 1987. And yes, there was the Sharon... No, I'm sorry. It's from 85. It was from 85. Wow, I was off by 8 years. Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, Russell Crowe, Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobin Bell, Kevin Conway, Keith David, Lance Henriksen, Gary Sinise. Oh my God, the list just went on and on and on and on and on. It was fabulous. I mean, that was a great example. Now, not the best Western ever, but a great example of a Western villain. It's a really good one. By the way, if you've never seen Quick and the Dead, check that out. It's actually one of my favorite Sharon Stone movies. Okay, let's see here. Roy L. writes, after watching Tom Welling in Lucifer, I thought that he would be a great choice to play Batman in the Arrowverse. What do you think? I don't know. You guys know me. As long as it's a good actor. I'll be very frank with you. While I did like Tom Welling in Lucifer, I frankly thought that had more to do with the writing. And I thought he was okay. But I didn't think he gave a particularly great performance, per se. I also love Smallville. But I never particularly felt like Tom Welling was a strong actor. Now, I know right now there are a bunch of you that's sacrilegious to say, and a bunch of you are burning effigies of me right now for dare saying that. I'm just being honest. I've never found... It's really cool to see him pop up in things. I love that he popped up in Lucifer. The character was well written. I don't know that it was a particularly great performance. I don't know. So since my thing is, I don't care who plays whatever, as long as you insert a great actor in there, then I'm good. And I don't know that Tom Welling falls in that category. I just don't. I've seen him pop up in a couple of things, and I've never thought he was terrible, but I've never actually thought it ever stood out to me that he was particularly great in anything either. So he wouldn't be in that. You know what I always say? I'll have a bucket of about 30 names in there that I'd be totally fine if any of those 30 names was that. I don't know that Tom Welling would be one, to be honest, just because he doesn't fit that category of me of a good, strong actor. I just don't know that he's that. And everybody hates me now for saying, I'm just calling it as I see it. And I love Smallville. But anyway, Enrique 305, if I live around LA, if I see you, wouldn't mind a hello. No, by all means, trust me, Ann and I have people stop us all the time. And wave and say hello. And by all means, if you run across me and you see me, totally feel free to come over and say hello. I honestly, it's a thrill for me. It is a thrill for me when people stop and want to say hello, because I think that's crazy. I think it's crazy. Why do people want to stop and say hi to me or take a picture? I don't know. but it's thrilling to me. It really is. So by all means, please do. All right. Best D14 writes, no one will be on the Iron Throne. After everything is over, Dany will burn the Iron Throne and leave Westeros. It's an interesting concept. Although she sees that thing as her birthright. She sees that is the place to have absolute dominion over the world, and she believes she has the birthright to have absolute dominion over the world and to bring justice to the world. That's kind of a dictator. She wants to be a benevolent dictator. That's what she wants to be. So I don't know. I don't. So ultimately, you're saying really Dany ends up on the throne. Just once she's on the throne, she burns it and leaves. I don't see that happening. That's where you rule the world from, and that's what she wants to do. So let's see. Maybe that is what happens. I don't think so, but let's just wait and see what happens. All right. Raymond Verada writes, Samuel L. Jackson said he had to prompt M. Night into doing a sequel for Unbreakable. Do you think he's doing the same for his other films? For instance, Shaft. I mean, I don't know. Like, Samuel Jackson isn't an actor who's hurting for work. Let's be honest. Samuel Jackson is in like 87 films every year. At least that's what it feels like, right? Samuel Jackson is not an actor who's hurting for work. He can appear in just about anything he wants to appear in. Everybody would love to put Samuel Jackson in their movie. Shaft. I don't know. I didn't particularly love his Shaft movie. And I love Samuel L. Jackson. And I wasn't particularly thrilled with the trailer for this new one. But it just seems to me, I don't know. Look, I'll tell you this right now, though. Split and Glass did not get made because Samuel L. Jackson said, hey, you should do this. It was going to get made. It was going to get made. Samuel L. Jackson may have been one of the people giving him nudges to do it, sure. But does Samuel L. Jackson have to desperately go around and get people to make sequels to films he used to be in because he can't get any other work otherwise? No, I don't think so. Samuel Jackson be in anything he wants anytime he wants. I mean, hell, he got on a Late Show and said, I want to be in Star Wars. So George Lucas went, okay, you're Mace Windu. You've got a purple lightsaber. I mean, that's the power of Samuel L. Jackson, ladies and gentlemen. All right. It's me, Amanda B, a.k.a. BS Mom, writes, my son KB has a YouTube channel, Night Loner Film Reviews. He values your opinion. What are your thoughts on the 80s movie Heavy Metal? Should he review it? Been a long time since I watched Heavy Metal. I know Schnepp loved Heavy Metal. I remember that. To me, it was never one of the big things. It was honestly never one of the big things for me. But I will say this. Review whatever is interesting to you. Because, look, the most important thing about being in this space is being authentic. Just be real. It doesn't matter if people agree with your opinions or not. It doesn't matter. And review the things you're passionate about reviewing. That's what I would say to your kid. Review the things that he's passionate about reviewing. If he wants to see Heavy Metal and he wants to talk about it, then review it. By all means, review it. Because look, I say a lot of things on this show that everybody disagrees with, and that's fine, because that's what I actually think. And all I can do is give you my honest opinion on things. And if that means I'm telling you I like something that everybody hates, fine. If it's telling you I hate something that everybody loves, fine. Always got to be authentic. And the best way to be authentic is to talk about the things you're passionate about. If he doesn't care about heavy metal, I wouldn't say go ahead and review it anyway. If he doesn't care about it, then what's the point? If he's passionate about it and likes it, yeah, then by all means, by absolutely all means, go and do that. Talk about what you're passionate about and do it with authenticity. Don't say things that you think other people want to hear, because you're never going to be true to yourself that way. If you've watched me for any period of time, you know I don't give a shit about what people want to hear. It's not my job to say things that people want to hear. It's not my job to make people agree with me. It is my job to give my opinion on something and hopefully give my opinion in such a way that helps clarify for the viewer why they agree with me or help clarify why they disagree with me. If somebody listens to me and they disagree with me and they come away from my video having a sharper understanding about specifically why they disagree with me, then I've done my job. That's all I want to do. I give my opinion in such a way that helps people sharpen why they agree with me or why they disagree with me. It's not my... See, too many YouTubers today think it's their job to say things, and this is why there's a lot of weak YouTube channels out there. They just say things that people want to hear, or they say the popular mob thing. Oh, it's the cool thing to hate on this? Oh, yeah, that thing sucks, even though I secretly like it. That thing sucks. Oh, I love that thing, even though I didn't really like it. But everybody's saying they like it, so I'm going to say I like it too. Everybody thinks... There's too many people out there today that think it's their job to say things that other people agree with, or to make other people agree with them. I don't give a shit if anybody agrees with anything I say or not. The only thing I care about is if, once I'm done giving my opinion and expressing my opinion, that I've done it in such a way that helps other people understand why they agree with me or understand why they disagree with me. And that's all. That's why some of my favorite film critics are not critics that I necessarily even agree with all that often. But they express their film reviews in such a way that helps me better understand and clarify, oh, yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I completely disagree, but it helped me sharpen my understanding about why I disagree with you on that. And that's why I appreciate reading them or watching them or listening to them. And so again, that's an elongated thing to say, hey, just tell your kid to talk about what he's passionate about and to be honest about what he's thinking. And to work on how well he communicates that. So that would be my advice. Anyway, let's see here. Shield writes, hello from New Zealand. Well, hello from New Zealand. What do you think the chances are of young Peggy Carter showing up in Endgame? You know, it's funny. A friend of mine was asking me something about Peggy Carter and moving forward just the other day. So it's funny you bring that up. I think it's very unlikely. I don't, and I say, I'm not impossible, but I'm saying unlikely, because I don't see the narrative purpose of doing that. Because even if they fix the timeline, all that kind of stuff, Peggy's still not around. It's totally possible. They can do anything they want. But I would say unlikely, because from where I'm sitting right now, I don't see the narrative path that takes you to having Peggy in there unless you just shoehorn Peggy in and force that in there just for the hell of it. And that doesn't seem to be what Kevin Feige likes to do with his movies. So I'm going to say unlikely, but never say it's impossible. All right. Sam Demner writes, hey, John, do you plan on reviewing Punisher Season 2? Your quick thoughts? I haven't watched it. I want to watch it. I can't wait to watch it. I'm not going to review it, though. I will give my quick thoughts on a show sometime. But I'm not going to review it because it's far too late to do, put up a review video of it. It's far too late to do that. But like I'm always saying, I'm behind on a lot of TV. So I haven't even started The Punisher yet. But once I do, I'll give my quick thoughts on one of my shows. Certainly I will. But to do an actual, full-out review, nah, it's way too late to do that. But I will give my thoughts once I see it. All right. Opus98 writes, would Justice League have done a bit better if Affleck and Goyer directed it after Snyder left? Because Whedon, in my opinion, made it worse. Some critics even pointed that out. No, I disagree. I think Whedon made it better. I think Justice League was better than Batman vs. Superman. I do. Sorry. What I do think, though, is look, we all know now that a lot of the execs at Warner Brothers wanted to remove Zack Snyder before they started shooting Justice League. And the only reason they didn't, because we know this now, was because it was too late. The shooting was supposed to start in 3 weeks, and they thought it would have been too expensive and too much of a pain to change directors at that point. That is the wrong reasons. Those are the wrong reasons. What would have made Justice League better is if they had started it with a different director and then allowed that director to just do the whole movie. It would have felt a little bit more consistent. But I know a number of people at Warner Brothers are 100% sure that the movie Justice League turned out better than the way it was going before they made the switch. The people at Warner Brothers I know are 100% sure of that. That the movie ended up being better than it would have ended up had they just stuck with Zack all the way through. Now, they may be right, they may be wrong, but that was their core 100% sure of that. But it's still, the movie still suffered from a little bit of schizophrenia. The movie still suffers a little bit from multiple personality disorder, right? Because it just feels a little bit like two different films. But I believe it ended up better, and I know the Warner Brothers believe it ended up better. But it all would have been much better if they had just started the movie with Joss Whedon directing, or if they had just started the movie with Ben Affleck directing, or if they had just started the movie with anybody else directing and just let that director direct the whole thing, it would have ended up better. So I definitely don't think David Goyer, because I don't think David Goyer is a strong director. I don't even think if Affleck stepped in halfway through, it would have turned out much better. Because you still would be stuck with the fact that you had one director, now you got another one. And that still would have been a problem. But yeah, no, I really do believe what Whedon did in that film made it better than it would have been. I believe that. Not everybody believes that, and that's totally cool. That's the subjectivity of film. But I believe that, and I know the Warner Brothers executives believe that as well. And hey, look, either way, Justice League was a missed opportunity. I like the film. I saw it like 7 times in theaters. I enjoyed Justice League, even though I acknowledge it had like some significant problems. It did. But I had a good time with it, so whatever. But hey, it is what it is. Okay. Rugo Kelvin writes, PT water in a cup. I don't know what you're saying, guys. Dominic Francis writes, is it just me that isn't too excited / pumped for Game of Thrones? 2 months out and I've not had a real trailer yet. Strange they haven't released one yet. No, it's a TV. This isn't a movie. It's a TV show. It's a TV show. They don't need to be dropping like 5 trailers months out before it starts. They've announced the release date of it. They don't need to put out 12 trailers. This isn't a movie. Remember, folks, this isn't a movie. This is a TV show, Dominic. And they don't need you to get all excited about Game of Thrones today. They need you to be excited about Game of Thrones a few days before the show starts. That's when they need you to be excited. So no, I have no problem with the fact that I haven't been dropping trailers left and right. No need for it. Because any buzz for a trailer they put out today is going to be gone 2 weeks from now. So it doesn't matter. They put out the release date. It's a television show. That's all they need to do. We will get a few more previews as we get closer to it, but that's when they need us getting excited as we get closer to it. They don't need us to be excited today. They need us to get excited as we're getting a little bit closer to it. And remember, again, this isn't a movie. This is a television series. So I wouldn't worry about it, Dominic. I wouldn't worry about it. Now, nothing guarantees, Dominic, that this show's going to be any good. Nothing guarantees that this season's going to live up to our expectations. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But they know when they need to start building the hype, and they know it's not right now. They know we're already excited about it. This isn't a movie situation. They know we're already excited about it. It's coming. They're gonna ramp up the marketing for it as we get closer, so I wouldn't worry about it at all right now. Okay. Praise Kai O'Gara writes, hey, John, just watched your Getting Started here. Oh, cool. Thank you so much for that praise. And I'm going to start my own website. I've done audio podcasts already. But my question is, do you think we could ever have a Siskel and Ebert, the movies type of show, ever reach mainstream media ever again? Whew. Well, first of all, thanks for checking out that video. I appreciate that. And I hope you found it helpful. It's funny. There was a network that inquired about me and Schnepp doing a Siskel and Ebert kind of film. And Schnepp and I talked about that. I can't, whether it was our decision or somebody else, I can't remember. We never actually went forward with it, but we always thought that maybe that could work. I don't know. I mean, because in the day of Siskel and Ebert, there weren't 40,000 film reviewers, right? Like today, we have 40,000 film reviewers. So I don't know if we could ever get that again. I don't know. But it's interesting you bring it up, though, because, again, that was something that Schnepp and I had talked about a few years ago. Never actually did it. That's fine. I don't know. It would be tough in this environment because, and unfortunately, here's part of the thing about the audience today. See, Roger Ebert is my all-time favorite film critic. But again, like I was saying a little bit earlier, I only agreed with his opinion of a movie about 50% of the time. Maybe 55% of the time. But I often found myself disagreeing. But he was my favorite critic, not because he liked what I liked and didn't like what I didn't like. I loved the way he expressed his thought process about movies. And like I was saying earlier, when Roger Ebert would talk about a movie, I felt like I sharpened my understanding of why I agreed or why I disagreed with him. And that's why I thought he was the best. He was just great at the way he articulated and explained his opinion. Is why I appreciated him so much. Unfortunately today, though, praise Kayogera, there are a lot of people today, particularly online, the audience today is very much, if you don't like what I like, then I don't want to watch you. Oh, you like something I hated? Well, then you don't have any credibility to me anymore. Like, people are stupid today. Let's admit it. As a population, we're getting dumber. And instead of being an audience that we don't just seek out, I mean, seriously, look at it. It's like MSNBC only caters to liberals. Fox only caters to conservatives. That's it. That's it. And they will only watch something that is already saying things that they already agree with. That's it. And the same is true in like review criticism. It seems today like we have a lot of our audience today is, I only listen to people that say things that I agree with. And that's not what Siskel and Ebert were about. Siskel and Ebert weren't about that. So could that happen today? I don't know, because everybody today only wants to watch people or listen to people or read people that they already agree with. They don't want to be challenged. They don't want to think. They want to hear somebody say, this movie is the greatest thing ever, if it's a movie they already love. That's all they want to hear. People don't want to hear, like, I mean, to this day, I get shit from people every time that I mention, yeah, I loved Infinity War. I loved Infinity War, but there are a few problems with it. You know, I talked this, and as soon as I say that, my Twitter blows up. How dare you say that there wasn't enough narrative breathing room in that movie? How dare you say, because it's true. Look, I love the movie too. And that's the thing. We live in an era now where it's not even enough that we both like the same movie. You want the person who's talking to like it as much as you do. Like I can say, yeah, I like this movie. I give it like a 7.5 out of 10. 7.5 out of 10? How dare you? That was a 10 out of 10. You suck. It's like, I mean, there's so much of that today. So could a Siskel and Ebert even exist in an environment like that today? I don't know. I really don't. Because it's a very fickle thing. And like to this day, I still get very well-meaning people who will email me or send a tweet saying to me, you know, John, you're my favorite film personality because I agree with you all the time. You have the same things as me. And I'll write back to those people. Not all the time, but quite often I'll write back and say, hey man, I really appreciate the watch the show, but hey man, don't just watch because you agree with me. I mean, I hope you disagree with me sometimes. I mean, because we don't want to just be, it's the fun thing about being film fans is that we'll all see things differently. And it's in exchanging our different perspectives on films that make it fun being a film fan. So I don't know if in today's environment, a true Siskel and Ebert, like a true banner waver, like Siskel and Ebert were the banner standards, raising the standard of film fandom. I don't know that that can exist because today's audience will reject people that don't say what they already think. And that is the dumbing down of our culture. We rally to things that just echo what we already believe. And we got to get out of that. And that's why I'm always thrilled. Like sometimes I get messages from people, and I know I'm going off on this for a while, but sometimes I get messages from people who almost apologetically say, like they'll say, hey, John, I've been watching the show for years now. I admit I don't always agree with you. And it's almost like they're apologetic. And it's like, no. That's awesome. You're the kind of viewer that I want to be a part of our community. The fact that you don't agree with me all the time is a good thing. Don't apologize for that. We're not supposed to agree on everything. We're supposed to come with our different thoughts and opinions. And if we agree, great. But if we disagree, that's fine. Don't be apologetic. And a lot of times people write to me almost sounding apologetic. John, I disagree with you almost half the time. I hope that's okay. But, I still like this. It's like, no, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's what it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to agree with me. It's not my job to say things you agree with. I just want to say things in such a way that hopefully you find edifying, that you find, hey, yeah, okay, I heard him explain the problems he had with Avengers Infinity War, but you know what? Hearing his reasons why he had problems with Infinity War, what that actually did for me was really sharpen my belief that I didn't think those were problems, but the way he expressed them helped me understand and see that and have a better picture of what I think. That's what it's about. So can a Siskel and Ebert pop up and then thrive in an environment like that today? I don't know. I think it's a tall order. Anyway, let's move on. Let's see. Andrew Riez writes, thoughts on Apocalypto, brutal scenes I love. Apocalypto is awesome. If you want to know, look, whatever other issues there are with Mel Gibson, and I'm not going to tell you should or shouldn't have issues with Mel Gibson, I'm simply saying, if we're simply talking about a dude and how good of a director he is, watch Apocalypto. That movie's all direction. That whole movie is just direction. And whatever issues you do or do not have with Mel Gibson, if we're just talking about how good of a director is somebody, if you want to see how good somebody is, watch Apocalypto. It's brutal, but it's also riveting. Like, you can't take your eyes away from it. It's just, yeah, man, that's one you should check out. All right, Stubble McShave writes, just saw that an old friend's been compositor and lead compositor for 16 Marvel and Star Wars movies in the past 10 years. I had no idea. Happy for him. I used to be in compositing. Woo! Tell you what, compositors, unsung heroes of the movie business, man. Unsung heroes of the movie business. Now, you might be asking, what's a compositor? Okay. So here's what a compositor is, all right? And you know what? Let's go back to I'm just going to give you a basic idea of what compositing is and what a compositor does. So there are designers in visual effects. Then there are modelers, people who build the 3D CGI models of the truck or the box that's going to blow up or the man that's going to fly or whatever. They build the models. Then you have riggers, you have animators, you have like all that kind of stuff. But there's also the compositors. Compositing is basically that step where you're actually taking all these elements and putting them together in your shot. That is the composite. For example, I have me. Let's say, for example, I'm going to be hard to hear for a second, but hang in there with me. I'll raise my voice. So let's say I don't actually have a microphone. Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone, isn't a real microphone. I just use a CG microphone. So a modeler will make the model of the microphone. And then what I do is a compositor will come along and put that mic in the shot and make it work in the shot. Or I might want to say, okay, let's do a composite. We got a composite of Brock, the Vancouver Canuck player, and now let's composite these images together into the frame. And this is a bad compositing job, obviously, but showing that this hockey player looks a lot like Prince Charming from Shrek 2, and that's compositing. And I'll tell you what, compositing is a tough, brutal bit of work. It's time-consuming, that and rotoscoping. Oh my God. I used to do some rotoscoping too. I used to call people who do rotoscoping the roto monkeys. We just point frame. The roto monkeys, yeah. But yes, compositors. I'm a huge admirer of compositors. Unsung heroes. Unsung heroes of the visual effects world. Okay, let's move on here. Heidi B writes, just wrote in a super chat. Thank you, Heidi. I appreciate that. Alex Von Gollum writes, hey, John, yesterday I saw Room in preparation for Captain Marvel. What a performance from Larson. Emotional, stoic when needed. Loved that the flick explored both when they lived in the room and aftermath. Look, and that's what I keep saying. Look, you point me to somebody saying, I don't think Brie Larson's a good choice for Captain America. And that's cool if you do. But normally, when I've had conversations with people who go that, I simply ask, have you seen Room? Not to be confused with The Room. That's a very different movie. But quite often when people say, I don't think that Brie Larson was a good choice for this, I'll go, quite often I've found this has happened many, many times. I've gone, have you seen Room? And they go, well, no. I say, all right. Like, before you say anything else about how good or not good Brie Larson is as an actress, go watch Room. Because until you watch Room, you shouldn't talk about how good or not good of an actress you think she is. Go watch Room, the film she won the Academy Award for, by the way. Go watch that. Now, that doesn't guarantee all films subjective. If you watch Room, you may not like her in Room. That's fine too. I'm just saying it has been funny that my experience has been when I've been talking to people and they express that they don't think she's that good of an actress. I go, have you seen Room? Or really anything else she's been in other than maybe 21 Jump Street? Usually the answer was no. So it's like, all right, time out. Go watch Room and then come back and let's have a conversation. Again, you may or may not like her in that, and that's fine. I'm just saying my experience has been most of the time when that question has come up, I put the question then to them, have you seen Room? And normally the answer has been no. So follow Alex Von Gollum. If you got any wondering about, her in this role, and again, Captain Marvel may suck. This movie may totally suck. I don't know, but I'll know this. I'm very excited about the casting of Brie Larson because she's an Academy Award-winning actress, and she's a hell of an actress. Go watch Room. You may like it, you may not, but you got to see it. You got to see it. All right. Ben Burnside writes, I thought that Pet Sematary was about dead pets coming to life and killing people. Boy, was I wrong, and that made me more scared with the trailer. I am telling you what, again, this is a situation where when I heard about this movie coming out, like, I'm all for reboots, so fine, do one, but I'm not interested in a Pet Sematary reboot. I got no problem that you're making it. Good on you. But I'm not interested. Just nothing that interests me about that. I think it'll come across as cheesy today. Not interested. Holy crap, the trailers have completely changed my tune on that. I think the trailers have been awesome. And I'm very excited to see this film. I'm very excited to see this film. And yeah, that's the thing. And woo! Now, there are some people complaining about the most recent trailer, about it revealing a certain number of things. All I can say is don't make too many assumptions. All I'm going to say is don't make too many assumptions. But man, these trailers have rocked me. I've loved these trailers. I cannot wait to see this film. And this is a movie I didn't care all that much to see not too long ago. Carlos Santana writes, the Homecoming trailer has me a bit worried of how they bring everybody back in Endgame. In Homecoming, everyone seems normal, but we will see. I think you don't mean Homecoming. I think you mean Far From Home. Again, make no assumptions. Make no assumptions. Remember, you're seeing glimpses of fragments of pieces of a movie that they want you. Remember, trailers are corporately designed pieces of manipulation to get you to give the studios your money. That's what trailers are. And I love them, but make no mistake, trailers are corporately designed pieces of manipulation designed to get you to give the studios your money. They have very specific intentions and plans for why they do that. What did you think they were going to do? Did you think they were going to talk about Endgame in a trailer for Far From Home? Of course not. For all we know, there's tons of references to Endgame in Far From Home, but why would they put that in a trailer when Endgame hasn't even come out in theaters yet? So what I would say, Carlos, is don't worry about that at all. Put that out of your mind. Stop trying to put together theories about how does this connect. Don't even worry about that right now. There's no way we can know anything until we see the movie. So I would not worry about that. I wouldn't worry about that in the least. Understand, it's just a trailer. They're showing you fragments of pieces of like minor parts of the movie in such a way just to promote that film. And of course, they're not going to make any references to Endgame right now. Of course. But I'll tell you what, after Endgame comes out, we may see different trailers from Far From Home that do reference Endgame. But at this point, obviously, they wouldn't do that. So I wouldn't worry about that right now. Praise Kiragira writes, also, how did you meet the Schmoes and Dennis? Well, I'm not going to go into a big, long thing here. Dennis, when I first moved to Los Angeles, I started doing live broadcasting with a company called Now Live. They asked me to come in and do a show there. And the vice president of that company was Dennis Zen. And he was like their main engineer and everything there. So that's where Dennis and I became friends when I first came to LA. So I've known Dennis Dennis and I have known each other over 10 years. And I was just hanging out with Dennis last night. We've known each other over 10 years. And so then when I started everything up at AMC, he was the first guy I went after. It's like, I got to bring Dennis over. Need to have Dennis here. And then, he and I did podcasts together and all that kind of stuff even before I was at AMC and blah, 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 blah. The Schmoes, I don't really remember how we first met. I think we had a mutual friend, and it was at a time I was doing AMC, and I was just looking to bring in various just guests from time to time. And I think a lot of people talked about them, about Christian and Mark. And so I think we connected through a mutual friend, and I reached out and said, hey, do you want to come on as a guest? And I had them on as a guest a couple of times on AMC. And then we were doing some expanding at AMC, and I put out a job call, just saying, hey, we're looking for, somebody come join the AMC team, blah, blah, blah. And Christian Harloff applied. And I was intrigued by that because I first of all, I was like, but you've got the Schmoes No thing going. Like, why? So what? But I liked Christian. And so I invited Christian in for an interview. And we didn't really know each other well at that point. But I invited him in for an interview. And I remember us sitting down in the old converted storage closet at AMC Burbank 16 and talking about, look, I like your work. You're great, but the stuff about the Schmoes and like, can you compartmentalize? Can you blah, blah, blah? Will AMC be a priority for you if you're here and not just Schmoes and blah, blah, blah. And that's where Christian's and mine relationship really started. And then it kind of took off from there. And then I was always a big fan of Mark as well. And so later on we were looking to expand, and Christian told me Mark was really interested in coming over as well. I met with Mark a couple of times. Mark comes on. I'm a huge fan of Mark, obviously. A huge fan of both of those guys, clearly. And I very much enjoyed working with Mark and Christian. And to the point that somewhere down the line, someday, I'm sure we'll do something together again. But yeah, that's how I met each of them. So I've known Dennis significantly longer, but that's how I met those guys. All right, Heidi B writes, hey John, your thoughts on the new Kingsman: The Great Game Catalyst? Stanley Tucci, Daniel, I think you mean Brühl, not Bruh, Aaron Taylor Johnson, etc. I haven't really read much about it, so I don't have anything to say. When did that come out? Hold on a second. Kingsman Catalyst. Let's see here. I'm not seeing anything in the news about it. I honestly, I don't know anything about it at this point. I will keep my eyes open for that. So unfortunately, I can't really give any comment because I don't know anything about it right now. Marie Seifring writes, do you like the Tia Leone show, Madam Secretary? Never watched it, which is weird because I really like Tia Leone. I liked her ever since she was in Deep Impact. I've liked her even before then. I like Tia Leone, but I've never watched Madam Secretary. And the funny thing about that is it looks like the type of show I would dig. I've always thought it looks like a kind of show I would like. Because I like shows like West Wing. I liked Designated Survivor. I like that show. I like, it's the kind of show that I think I would like, but I never got around to watching it. So no thoughts on it, but I do want to watch it at some point. All right. Cinematic Galaxy writes, to me, Harry Potter surrendering himself to Voldemort in the forest in Deathly Hallows is his I am a Jedi moment. Not as iconic, but just as heroic. Oh, I think you are bang on the money with that cinematic. I think you are 100% right on that. That is absolutely his I am a Jedi moment for him. That's his. That's it. I was kind of describing the Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker scenes as the come to Jesus moments. That's kind of the Harry Potter real glory moment. To me, that shot in that scene, and I like the way you articulated that. That shot in that scene was really everything that the Harry Potter character had been building towards since the first moments of the Sorcerer's Stone. Everything really was building to that moment. And it's terrific. It'll never be as iconic for sure, but it was that kind of a scene. And I think you were 100% bang right about that. Nosferatu writes, these pretzels are making me thirsty. Oh, what's that from? Oh, and I know I just saw it recently too. Now I got to look it up. I got to look that one up. These pretzels are making me thirsty. Oh, it's Kramer. It's a Seinfeld thing. I don't know why I froze on that. You know what? It's not what I was thinking. I was thinking of a movie. I was actually thinking Dumb and Dumber. I don't know why. I should have known that it wasn't. I had in my head Dumb and Dumber when he said that. But anyway, it's a Seinfeld line. Jared McBride, Bruce Lee versus Thanos. Well, I mean, I want to say Bruce Lee, but clearly Thanos. But Bruce Lee would give him that 6-inch power punch, or was it the 2-inch power punch? Anyway, and put him back. But yeah, then Thanos kind of takes control. Ryan writes, Andrew Inks as Noonie Zepp. I'm sorry, I have no idea what it is you're asking. Let's see here. Always with the jumps. La 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 la. Wow. Okay, here we go. Warren Lucas writes, underrated movie, Blown Away with Jeff Bridges and Tommy Lee Jones. Have you seen it? Your thoughts? I have seen Blown Away. It's been an awfully long time. Let me just bring it up here. Yeah, that's like a 25-year-old film. I remember liking it, but I don't think I've seen it. I saw it in theaters, and then I think I got it, like I rented it once, like the year after it came out. And I think that's about it. I remember liking the film, though. I do remember liking the film, but it's been at least 22, 23 years since I've seen it. So, but I do remember liking it. But it was, the guy was the kid in the neighborhood and the bombs and all that kind of stuff. Good movie, but I just can't remember a lot of details about it, unfortunately. But yes, I did see it. Fine Nguyen writes, you killed my friend, so I'm going to kill each and every one of you. My only disappointment is I only get to do it once. Equalizer 2, love it. Equalizer 2 was better. Not better than the first Equalizer. But better than I thought it would be. That movie just turned out good. And Denzel, I mean, look, just Denzel comes on screen and he's going to do something magic. Doesn't matter what he's doing. He can be in a biopic, he can be in a drama, he can be in an action film. Denzel's going to come on screen, he's going to own it. And when he says, like, my only regret is I only get to do it once. Oh, come on. Like, he just makes that magic, right? Unfortunately, Equalizer 2 didn't do as well as the first one did. And I don't see them doing an Equalizer 3, which is too bad because I could watch 5 of these movies. Because I loved the first one. Loved it. Not a lot of people talked about the first one. And I totally loved the first one, but yeah, I don't think a third one's going to be in the cards, but I'd be very excited if they did. John Hine writes, let Qui-Gons be Qui-Gons and leave Liam alone. Let Qui-Gons be Qui-Gons. And yeah, you know what? The nice thing is, I think more and more people, look, my main thing was this, with the Liam Neeson situation, was that everybody, we are in people love outrage. People love to be outraged. We are in an outrage culture. So much so that now some people are getting outraged about a guy who didn't actually do anything, but thought about doing something after finding out his close friend was raped. He thought about doing something dumb, realized that's horrible to think that. I'm not going to do that. And he didn't do it 40 years ago, and we are still having people get outraged at him. He didn't actually do anything. He thought about doing something because a dear friend of his was raped, which drove him to a place of anger and vengeance in his mind. So he thought about doing something and then stopped himself and said, wait a minute, that's a horrible way to think. That's terrible. I'm not going to do that. And he stopped himself from doing it in the first place. And yet here we are so obsessed with outrage. We got people getting outraged at a guy who 40 years ago, in a moment of extreme pain, thought about doing something, but then thought better of it and didn't actually do it. And by the way, I keep telling people this. If the girl who had been assaulted told Liam, remember this was in Ireland, that a Catholic had done it, he would have been out looking for a Catholic. If she had told him it was a Protestant who did it, he would have been out hunting down a Protestant dude or wanting to take out revenge on Protestants. If she had told him it was a leprechaun, he would have been out looking for leprechauns. Because that's the moment. And again, he would have stopped himself and go, wait a minute, this is a horrible way of thinking. This isn't how the world needs to work. This is stupid what I'm thinking about doing. I need to stop this. And he was governed by anger and rage, and he got control of it and said, no, I'm not going to do it. I just remember I was talking to somebody who was telling me Liam Neeson needs to be unequivocally condemned for what he did. And I said, but time out. He didn't do anything. 40 years ago, in extreme pain and rage, he let his anger get the better of him. That made him think about doing something. And he realized how terrible that way of thinking was, and he didn't do it 40 years ago. And we're talking about unequivocally condemning that? Shouldn't we be going? Here's an example of a guy who was in the midst of rage and revenge and anger because he understands the feeling of rage and revenge and anger. And he did the smart thing that he took a breath and went, no, this is horrible. This is wrong. I can't do this. This is stupid, and didn't do it. Shouldn't we be holding that up as an example of, guys, when anger and rage get the best of you, take a breath. Take a breath. We all get anger and rage and whatever. Believe me, I've thought about doing some things in fits of anger and rage. Believe me, I have. And you have too. And it's just great. But what I'm happy to see today is that the story seems to be going away because most people are realizing, wait, we're getting all worked up over something, a guy who 40 years ago thought about doing something because his friend got raped and he was angry and ultimately realized it was a horrible way of thinking and he didn't do anything, so he stopped. And that's what we're talking about? Really? Aren't there other things of people who've actually done horrible shit that we should be talking about instead of talking about a guy who 40 years ago thought about doing something because his friend got raped and then realized that's a horrible way of thinking. I'm not going to do that. And he didn't do it. That's what we're talking about? Anyway, that's just... But hey, everybody loves being outraged, so there we go. And there are things worth being outraged over. That is not, in my opinion. But anyway, there it is. That's just my thoughts on that. All right. Just Plain Steve writes, asked this of Rob a few days back. Curious, what do you think? Do you think real sex scenes have a place in non-pornographic films? I'm a red-blooded guy, but I find them pretty distracting. That's a good question. You know, because we've had films like Nymphomaniac was out. Nymphomaniac Part 1, Nymphomaniac Part 2, where the director very famously had his actors and let his actors know we're going to actually have real sex. So these sex scenes are as real and as visceral and convincing as possible. It's going to be real sex in the movie. I have, I'm just going to give you my opinion on this. Take it for what it would. I'm not saying this is the way you should think or anything like that. I don't know what the big deal is. Guess what? Every single one of us that are on this planet are a representation of when a couple of people fucked. Look out on the sidewalk. That's a lot of fornication going on, man, because we are all a product of that. Our bodies are physically designed to have sex. That's what we're made for. By design, we are sexual creatures that we were the built-in instinctual drive to mate. I think sex should not be such a big deal. And I know there's going to be a lot of you out there that hate that I said that, and that's fine. I don't. I just don't think sex is a big deal. I don't. And to me, if a director thinks, hey, having real sex will sell the scene because it'll feel more authentic and all that kind of stuff, hey, it's not what I would do, but if that's what a director feels and some actors go, okay, then I have no problem with it. I don't. I have no problem with it. I have zero problem with it. And I don't find it, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't find it distracting. There are lots of things directors do that they have every right to do, but can sometimes distract me. So that's cool that it would distract you. Maybe I'd find it distracting too. But I have no problem with it, just because I don't think sex should be such a taboo thing. Again, a lot of people will disagree with that, and that's cool. I'm not trying to tell anybody that that's what you should think. But to me, we make way too big of a deal out of it. Sex is just a fun activity, like playing Monopoly. So I really don't see an issue with it. But again, that's just me. I'm not trying to tell you how to think. You just asked me my opinion. I gave you my opinion. Okay. Dirk Diggler writes, Dominic Toretto versus the Trench Monsters in Aquaman, over or under? Oh, Dominic Toretto wipes out the Trench Monsters. The only question is over or under 5 minutes. Does Dominic Toretto take more or less than 5 minutes to wipe out the entire race of Trench Monsters? That's the only question. And if it's him producing the film, it'll be in under 2 minutes. He'll dive into the water. He'll see all the swarm of the Trench Monsters. He'll take a mechanic's wrench in his hand, dive into the water and yell, family, as he's diving into the water and go underwater, and he'll have them all wiped out. 2 minutes tops. Dirk Diggler then writes, Dominic Toretto versus Tom Brady, over or under? Again, if Dominic Toretto if Vin Diesel is producing the movie, and I love me Vin Diesel, you all know I love Vin Diesel, but Dominic Toretto would pull the 6 rings off of Brady's hands in about 2 seconds flat. Captain Chicken Pants, I love that name, writes, speaking of Ben Foster, you need to watch Alpha Dog. Oh, I've seen Alpha Dog. I like Alpha Dog. Alpha Dog's good. But here's the funny thing. A lot of people will point to Alpha Dog, right? Let me just bring up Alpha Dog here for a second. A lot of people will point to, because I don't think Justin Timberlake's a very good actor. And then some people will point to Alpha Dog, and I go, no, to me, that's an example where the movie's pretty good, but that doesn't mean that everybody who's in it did a good job. I thought Justin Timberlake was at best okay in that, but I honestly don't think he's a very good actor. I think Justin Timberlake is one of the best pure entertainers in the world. I really do. I have a huge amount of respect for Justin Timberlake. I really do. But I don't think he's all that good of an actor. But overall, as a whole, Alpha Dog is pretty damn good. Dirk Diggler writes, Dominic Toretto versus Batman in his prime, over and under. Again, it all depends on who's producing the film. If Vin Diesel's producing the film, it's Dominic Toretto. If it's anybody else, I mean, hey, Batman beats Superman, so it's Batman. But if Vin Diesel's producing it, he beats Batman even before Batman has a chance to put on his cowl. Marcus Robert Johnson writes, do you believe in justice? I don't know what that's from. You got me stumped. Marcus Robert Johnson writes, then give Han his... Han, by the way, my friend, did get justice. Hashtag, Han had it coming, my friends. Han had it coming. All right. Very funny, though. All right, let's move on. Alex Von Gollum writes, where's Alex? There he is. Have you seen the latest Captain Marvel TV spot? Danvers and Fury seem to be having fun while fighting the Skrulls. Favorite non-trailer video, in my opinion. Can't wait. Have not seen that. No. Here's the thing. I will watch all trailers, but I'm not the type of guy who, when I see new TV spot, I don't necessarily go and click on that to see the newest TV spot. I will hunt down and watch all the trailers, but oddly enough, I don't go hunting down and watching the TV. Now, I may stumble across them. I may just watch them out of hand, but I don't necessarily go, oh, new TV spot? Click on that and go watch it. If it pops up in my Facebook feed or my Twitter feed or whatever, yeah, oh, okay, I'll watch it. But I don't go out of my way to click on them. But so no, I have not seen it, but it's interesting hearing that. Enrique305 writes, parents say I'm obsessed with you because I hear you daily. Well, tell your parents there are a lot worse things you could be obsessed with. Say, hey, Ma, all right, I can stop and take up cocaine. Then your mom's going to be totally thrilled with you watching the John Campea show. There you go. By the way, do not say that to your mom because that would be a bad thing to say to your mom. Roman Bryant writes, even though I, as born in 2000, Kelly Kapowski is still my biggest crush ever. If I'm not mistaken, Kelly Kapowski, that is the Saved by the Bell girl, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. Let me just double check that. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Played by, what was the actress's name? Tiffany Thiessen was her name. My God, she was attractive. And by the way, I've seen like pictures of her quasi recently, and by all means, she still is. Like, she still totally is. But Tiffany Thiessen, dear heavens, like she was the dream girl for a lot of guys. She was the dream girl for a lot of guys for very obvious reasons. So do not feel odd or bad by that, Roman. Do not feel odd or bad about that at all, because she was a huge crush, that character on Saved by the Bell, for a lot of guys. Marie Seifring writes, thoughts on a spinoff of Aquaman about the trench? Somebody brought this up yesterday as well, Marie. I don't like it because I mentioned this before. One of the things that gives me some confidence moving forward the DCEU is the notion that Walter Hamada is not going to do what Warner Brothers has traditionally done with the DC Universe. Been totally reactionary. Never having a plan and following it through, but being reactionary. That has been Warner Brothers with the DC properties. We're going to do this. Oh, the box office was a little lower than we thought. Oh, change everything. Change all of our plans because this one thing happened. We're going to do this. Hey, this one thing was kind of popular. Oh, change everything to do more of that then. Oh, and they just became reactionary. And that has been one of the big problems. To me, what makes me a little bit afraid, and by the way, nobody's greenlit any Aquaman spinoff movie yet. It just talks about some development. 1,000 movies get developed that never turn into movies. Okay, so just keep that in mind for now. But it worries me a little bit. It's like, okay, we got a plan. Hey, Aquaman was a bigger success than we thought. Quick, do a spinoff of something. What should we do a spinoff of? How about the Trench Monsters? Okay, yeah, do that quick. Make that a movie. It makes me nervous. So all I can say is I hope that doesn't happen, because it will break my faith that Hamada has a plan and that he's going to stick to that plan and not let an unexpected success nor let an unexpected bump in the road throw him off his plan. And if they actually move forward with the trench, I'm going to be very nervous that it's just same old at DC, folks. Just reactionary again. Just staying completely reactionary instead of following through and believing in a plan. And I just hope that doesn't happen. So I'm a little bit nervous, Marie. I'll be honest. I'm a little bit nervous. All right. Ben Rayner writes, if you were head of Universal and I pitched you a reboot of Back to the Future reboot starring The Rock as Doc and Tom Holland as Marty, but have it set in modern times, 2015, and go back to that Dubai. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you can throw up any kind of scenario like that. And I mean, I'm all for Back to the Future, a Back to the Future reboot. I am. I love the Back to the Future movies. I'm totally fine with doing a reboot. I don't know. But Bren, you know me. The whole, what if we did this movie and you put X actor in X role, and what do you, whatever. I don't know. Again, what I will say is that I'm totally good with the idea of a reboot. Sure, that's fine. Go ahead. But no thoughts, no comment. Benny 95 writes, What if in Endgame they reset the timeline, and in this new timeline, mutants have been in society for decades? Love the show, keep it the great. I think that's cheap. I think that's cheap cop-out. I really do. And by the way, remember, they had this movie planned and in production before. Remember, the deal between Fox and Marvel is still not closed officially. So that would be kind of dumb for them to do that. But anyway, it's possible if they did it, and I really don't think they are. If they did, to me, that would be a really cheap, lazy, pathetic cop-out. Yeah, I wouldn't be for that at all. I think that would be a really bad move. And now, look, I don't pretend to have the answers. I don't know what they're going to do with their X-Men characters. I don't know how. We do know that it looks like Deadpool's going to be outside of the MCU. Maybe they'll have other X-Men outside the MCU too. I don't know. It sounds like they're going to have them in the MCU. So, I mean, I don't know. And it's going to be really, really tricky to figure out a way how you weave them all in together. But I don't believe Kevin Feige is going to rush anything. Kevin Feige is going to take his time. He's going to have a good plan, and they'll execute it. Something like this, I'll be frank with you, Benny, I would be really disappointed in Marvel if that's what they did. We have no idea Into the Mutants. Just say the undoing the snap made it. It seems lazy and weak. So, no, I wouldn't be for that at all. And again, I don't think you're going to hear any mention of mutants in Endgame whatsoever, because this movie's already done, and the deal between Fox and Marvel is still not complete. They're not going to be so stupid as to do that. At least I hope they're not that stupid. It's going to take a little time. Aaron Yeager writes, how good is Sleuth? I love movies that take place in one spot like Devil, Phone Booth, Buried, Lock, 1408, and P2. You know, I took a film class once that Quentin Tarantino also took, but a friend of mine who's a filmmaker recommended I take this film class. It was like a 2-day film class by this film instructor in Hollywood called Dove S.S. Simmons. And the funny thing was, so I went to this 2-day film class, and I can't remember the actor's name, but you remember My Big Fat Greek Wedding? The guy who played the lead girl's dad? I was sitting with him. He and I were taking the class together, went and had lunch. Very wonderful dude. I feel bad that I forget his name. But at any rate, one of the things that Dove S.S. Simmons said in the film class is that single location movies, they are tricky in some ways, but in many ways, they're great ways to cut your teeth. Because what Dove Simmons, his film instructor, would say is like, if somebody ever asks you, how do you make a movie? Just say this. Point a camera at some people, say action, hit record, 90 minutes later, hit stop and say cut. And there, you've got a movie. And it's true. Like, how do you make a movie? Just point a camera at something, hit record, and you make a movie. But he said one of the great advantages of single location stuff is that there are challenges narratively to doing that, but then it's super cheap. You don't have to worry about environments. You've got your one location shot, and you do it. And there's something great about that. But it does present challenges. Like Buried, oh my God, that entire movie with Ryan Reynolds is him in a box by himself. That's the whole movie. The movie never leaves the box. It's crazy. How do you make that compelling? Somehow they did it with Buried. Phone Booths had some. Devil struggled with that a little bit. 1408, I think, struggled a little bit. But overall, it's a really cool idea. If you can do it, and I would recommend, if any of you are thinking about just trying to make your own little movie, get a couple of friends, pick one location, come up with a story that can happen all in that one place, and do it. You know what another good example of that is? Is that 99% of the movie Oscar with Sylvester Stallone and Marissa Tomei. I love the movie Oscar. I think it's a great comedy, but 99% of that movie happens in his house on one day. Most of the movie's just one day in his house. It's great. It's a good example of that. Check it out if you get a chance. Javier Riaz 405 writes, will you be surprised if we don't see Valkyrie or Korg in Endgame? No. I'm honestly, I won't be surprised either way. To me, it's a 50-50 chance that they show up. I certainly believe they can show up, and I won't be surprised at all if they do. I certainly believe they may not. It's not really that important. At least I don't think it's that important. I may think differently once I start seeing Endgame. But right now, I won't be surprised either way. To be honest, I think it's a little bit of a virtual coin toss, Javier, of which way that could go. I'd certainly be happy to see Korg again, but with how much stuff they have to cover in this movie, I'd also be totally understanding if they didn't want to crowd too many characters in it at the same time, right? So we shall see. We shall see. Chris Schultz writes, can you fill me in on the Han had it coming joke? Oh, it's a simple little thing. The character Han Solo from the Fast and the Furious, Jason Statham's character kills him when Jason Statham's character was the villain. And now there are a bunch of people upset that Jason Statham is now a hero in the series and working with the good guys. And people saying, no, they shouldn't have him working with them. There should be justice for Han. And me, I'm just jokingly like, nah, forget justice for Han. Han had it coming. I'm glad Jason Statham killed him. So it's just a little joke. That's the whole thing. Kaylin the Alien writes, what would it take to get you to breakdance on camera? For those of you who don't know, I actually literally used to be a professional. If by professional you mean you got paid to do it, I used to be a professional breakdancer. That sounds ridiculous, I know, but it's the truth. I was in the Zodiac crew, and I was Pisces. It's as stupid as it sounds, yes. To get me to slap on an old windbreaker, lay down some cardboard, and bust out some moves, which I'm sure I would be terrible at today. I don't know, $500,000 to my charity of choice. Maybe women's shelters. Yeah, Women and Children's Shelter, $500,000 donated to a Women and Children's Center. I will do a 2-minute breakdance video. There it is. The gauntlet has been laid down. And you have nobody but yourself to blame if you have to watch me do it. All right. Javier Riaz 405 writes, my favorite moment about Age of Ultron was when Vision unexpectedly picked up Mjolnir. The crowd gasped, and the look on Avengers, great scene. That was a great moment. Here you go. It was great. It was wonderful. However, to this day, and I think Avengers is better than a lot of people remember, but to this day, my favorite part of Avengers is still that scene near the beginning when they're having the party. And it's become clear that Black Widow is into Bruce. She's into Dr. Banner. And they have that conversation, and it's like one of the best lines in all of the MCU. And I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember it line for line, but basically she says this. You know, I've known a lot of guys who are ready to run into the fight. But then I meet this one guy who runs away from the fight because he knows he'll win. Oh! Are you kidding me? That line is awesome. She's basically telling Bruce why she's falling in love with him. Like, I've known a lot of guys who are ready to run into the fight. But then I meet this guy who runs away from the fight because he knows he'll win. Talking about Bruce being the Hulk. And I'm like, I'm getting chills, guys. You see the hair on my arm standing up and all the bumps on my arm here? Oh my God. That line is awesome. I love that. And that's why I still ship Nat and Bruce. I still want that to happen. All because of that one line. Okay, anyway. But yes, Vision having the hammer. That was great. Mick Quack writes, quote quiz. Hey, I don't have a problem with UT. I don't care if you putt from the rough. I don't know. I don't have a problem with UT or UT. I don't care if you putt from the rough. I don't know. You got me on that one. I'm a little bit simple. Guys in the chat board, which one is that? Javier Riaz 405 writes, how many years do you think Brady has left in him? Here's the thing. The great Tom Brady compatriot was, the yin to his yang was Peyton Manning, right? The great Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning went from brilliant to kind of bad real quick. Like overnight. Like in one season, he looked magnificent. The next season, he looked terrible. And they even benched him for a while. And then they won the Super Bowl that year, but he was not good in that Super Bowl at all. And so then he retired. I suspect the same thing's going to happen to Tom Brady. He's going to be Brady, 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 and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a season's going to hit, and he's going to be diminished by like 60%. I think he's got 1 year left. And then I think he's going to play one more season, and then I think he's going to hang it up. He's going to go, hey, you know what? I've got the world's hottest wife who is richer than I am. I've got beautiful children. I have all the money in the world. Why am I still going to the gym? Why am I still going to preseason camp? Why am I getting hit by these giant 320-pound linebackers? Why am I still doing this? I've got the gauntlet. I've got 6 rings. 2 on the middle finger for all the haters. I've got 6 rings. I am the greatest of all time. Why am I still doing this? I got a feeling by the end of next year, he'll have that moment of realization. I think next year will be his last year. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Rugo Kevin writes, oh, John, be water my friend. I don't know what that means, Rugo, but thanks for sharing it. The Dr. 14 Blu-ray Reviews writes, hey, John, Letitia Wright just won the BAFTA Rising Star Award. Yeah, I first of all, I love Letitia Wright in Black Panther. I love her. I think her character is awesome. I don't put a lot of stock in either, like I love CinemaCon, but I put no stock in their Rising Star Awards. I love BAFTA. I don't put any stock in the Rising Star. These are all little participation awards that they put. I put no stock in them at all. But make no mistake, I love her. She is the smartest person in the MCU. Sorry, guys, you can argue that all you want, but the producers of the MCU and Kevin Feige have confirmed that she is the smartest character in the MCU. Smarter than Tony Stark, smarter than anybody else. She's the smartest. And she's great. I love her. Love her. But I don't give much thought to the Rising Star Award. I really don't care about those. They mean nothing really. But I do love her. Love her a lot. All right. James L.H. There we go. James L.H. writes, John, have I seen Chris Evans in Snowpiercer from 2013? Only just recently released in the UK 6 years later on demand. Tempted to buy it. Has a 95% Rotten Tomatoes rating. I'll tell you what, I have seen it and I like it. I do not think it's as great as a lot of people think it is. I don't think it's all that great. It's good. It's different. It's original. There are certainly a lot of good things about it. Chris is good in it. I love Chris. But there are a lot of people who just like almost fall down when you mention Snowpiercer. Oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever. There's a lot of people who love that movie. Love it. I liked it, but I did not get as caught up in it as everybody else. I would say absolutely give it a shot because so many people do love it. Yeah, I mean, look, my opinion, it's worth seeing, but there are so many people that are way smarter than me that absolutely trip over themselves talking about it. So I would absolutely say you owe it to yourself to give it a shot. And like I said, it's very different. It's very cool. Give it a shot for sure. All right. I'm Upset writes, will there be a Lego Movie 3? I doubt it. I mean, Lego Movie 2 just opened and it only did half of the business on opening weekend that the first Lego Movie did. The first Lego Movie made $60-something million on its opening weekend. This one made $30-something million on its opening weekend. That's not the trajectory they want to go. I'm going to guess no. I mean, who knows for sure? I certainly don't know for sure, but my guess right now would be no. The Dr. 14 Blu-ray Reviews writes, I am boycotting Captain Marvel because Brie Larson could not shut her mouth about identity politics. Then that's your problem, dude. That's your problem. An actor said something I don't like. I'm boycotting. That's your problem. If that's the way you want to live your life, you live your life that way. Go for it. What you're really saying is you don't want to see it because an actor said something you didn't like. Tough. I mean, suck it up. Suck it up. Guess what? Somebody on every movie thinks something you don't like. All right? And everybody's running way out of control. Like There was this one time Brie Larson said something about, I'm not really interested in what a 40-year-old white film critic says about that movie. But they take it completely out of context because they were talking about one particular movie that was Wrinkle in Time, which I did not like, by the way. I think Wrinkle in Time is a bad film. It's just a bad film. But she was asked in a very specific context about, who that movie will appeal to, who it was made for, and all that kind of stuff. And within that specific context, she made a comment about, I don't really care about what a 40-year-old white film critic says about this. I'm more interested in what, the people who are the demographic that were the targets for this movie, what they think about it. That's all she was saying. But people reveal their biases by deciding to target in on that one statement and get their ass all tightened up in a tight little knot and go, she said something I don't agree with. And then they lose their shit. Right? And they lose their shit. Which to me is utterly ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's that one thing. And that's become the banner for people who hate women, I guess. So all I want to say is, look, if all you're going to do is say, somebody has a belief of something outside of movies that I don't agree with, and therefore I'm never going to go see their movie. If that was the case, I would never watch a Clint Eastwood movie. Clint Eastwood has got some really fucked up points of views politically. At least I think he does. But guess what? He's a brilliant filmmaker, and I love his movies. I don't care what his particular political point of view is on something outside of the movies. I don't care. Whatever, he has his beliefs. Remember that stupid thing he did during the first Obama thing when he did that thing with the chair on the stage? Like, that was one of the strangest freaking things I'd ever seen. But who cares when it comes to the movies? Should anybody who doesn't agree with Clint Eastwood's political thing, should they boycott his movies? Of course not. He's a freaking great filmmaker. And I don't care what his political opinions are. I don't care. They're his opinions. He's voicing his opinions. Good on Clint. Good on Clint. I don't agree with them. I come from a different point of view than his does. But who cares? He's a great filmmaker. Well, if you don't agree with something he says or thinks outside of movies, then you shouldn't watch his movies. That's a fucking ridiculous way to approach life. That is a ridiculous way to approach life. And if some actor says something about politics that you do or don't agree with, that's fine. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them. But, that will determine whether or not I go watch a movie that they're in? I'm sorry, man. That to me is really fucking strange. That's really strange. That's basically saying everybody should draw lines. If there's an actor or director in a movie that says something politically that you don't align yourself with, you shouldn't go see their movie. That is ridiculous. So if somebody at McDonald's has a political opinion you don't agree with, you're never going to go to McDonald's again. If somebody at Vons, which is a local grocery store chain, if some executive at Vons has a political belief that you agree or don't agree with, you shouldn't go shop at Vons. That's ridiculous. And look, I say this with all love, man, but if you're going to let that keep you from going to see a movie, then you're the one with the agenda. You're the one with the bias. And you're the one with the issue. I'm not saying you have to agree with her. I don't agree with Clint Eastwood, but I ain't going to let that dictate whether or not I go see his movies. I'm not going to let that dictate or stop me from going to enjoy the work of a really good filmmaker. So he has a different political ideal than me. Who cares? Big deal. I don't care. He's entitled to think and believe and say whatever he wants to think or believe and say, and that's totally fine with me. It's not as long as he's not, blowing hate speech out of his mouth. That's fine. But honestly, I say this in all love as a fellow film fan, if you're going to let something like that, and I don't care if this bothers anybody, this is my opinion. If you're going to let something like that stop you from going to see a movie that person's in, then I'm sorry. From where I'm sitting, you're the one with the agenda. You're the one with the agenda, not the actor. Now, I won't go see any movie with Chris Brown in it because I got a problem with men who beat and hospitalize women. Call me crazy, but I got a real issue with somebody who beats women. All right? Call me nuts. But if it was just an issue of, oh, like Kanye West, you said some political things. Am I going to boycott anything Kanye West says because he has some beliefs about something politically that I don't? No, that'd be ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And, maybe I'm coming across harsh on that, but it's just what I believe. Because again, if you believe that, then you have to say anybody who doesn't believe with Clint Eastwood's political views shouldn't go and watch Clint Eastwood movies. And that would be stupid. That would be stupid. So I can't get on board with that with you, man. I just cannot get on. That to me is a cancerous way of thinking for film fans. I think that is a cancerous, unhealthy, divisive way of saying things. Unless she says things outside of movies that I agree with, then I'm going to boycott those movies. That's cancerous to film fandom, man. That is cancerous to film fandom. You don't have to agree with anything she says. You don't even have to like her. There are people in movies that I don't like. I think they're jackasses outside of movies, but they're great at making their movies, so I enjoy their movies. As long as they're not like beating and hospitalizing women or anything like that. But anyway, that's just it's the way I see it, man. That is a closed-minded way of looking at the world, my friend. I'd encourage you to really look in the mirror and examine that. I really do. Again, you don't have to like what she said. You don't have to agree with what she said. Not at all. But to now go, oh, you think something I don't think outside of movies? I'm not going to go watch those movies then. That's a fucking whack way of approaching film fandom, man. That's a really weird way of looking at film fandom. I'm sorry to be so blunt, but I got a passion for the film fan community, man. That's just I would say the exact same thing to anybody, and I have said the exact same thing. I remember the whole thing was going on about Clint Eastwood, and I stood up and like said, "Oh, wait, boycott Clint Eastwood." I was like, "That's a fucking ridiculous thing to say, just ridiculous." Anyway, okay. Anyway, there's somebody in the chat board saying, "Move fucking on, John." You know what? Fuck you. My show. I will talk about whatever I want to talk about for 5 hours if I want to talk about it. So if you're getting tired of it, you move on. I'll still be fine. Don't worry about it. Okay. I will now move on because now is when I choose to move on. Anyway. Okay. Razor's Edge Frisbee writes, favorite Schnepp moment, his story about stepping on that nail on the bus on his way home from camp. When y'all reviewed the last Witch Hunter trailer and said, and that's what this trailer felt like. There are many and multiple ways of looking at that kind of stuff. Many and multiple moments, I should say, about what could be the great John Schnepp's moments. There are thousands of them. I mean, literally thousands of them, because, I mean, there was that time talking about a Tetris. That had to be one of the big highlights. The time we were talking about the possibility that a Tetris movie was being talked about. And he's like, let's make a movie about shapes. That was one of the great things. But I mean, every time John Schnepp did a video, you knew you were going to get a moment. You knew you were going to get at least one moment, right? And that was just something that was special about John Schnepp. You were always going to get something ridiculous and hilarious that you could talk about for the rest of the day. And he just had a way of bringing that. Like, one of the really cool things about Schnepp was that not only did he have a love for the genre stuff, and not only did he have a love for art and all that kind of stuff, but he was just... There are some guys who are really funny but don't really understand art. And so he was a guy who understood all of it and was absolutely hilarious in the way he would describe that passion he had that made him absolutely magnetic and absolutely memorable and absolutely loved watching. So many. But the Tetris one was a pretty big one. The Tetris one was a pretty good one. That and Aunt May. The Aunt May and Tetris ones were pretty big ones. All right. Koa1708 writes, just used the popcorn butter trick with the straw again last night. Life-changing knowledge, John. You know, it's funny. I have had so many people now tweet to me pictures of them using the butter popcorn thing. I've been having tons of people now tweeting me pictures of them at the movie theater using my straw butter dispensing technique. Good on you. And you're right, Koa. Completely life-changing. Changed my life for the better. I've consumed far more butter than a human being should, but it made my life better. So I'm glad you liked it, man. The Insight writes, you watch Crackle's original programs. No, not that I don't want to, but I don't have Crackle. But I know they put on a couple of things before that I thought have looked really interesting, but sadly, no, I never really have. Gabe Shamburger writes, is Adam Sandler really as nice as people say he is? I don't know. I mean, I've met him once, and he was certainly very cordial and polite when I met him, but I honestly don't know. I've heard nothing but nice things, though. And I think it says a lot that he's got a crew of people that just love over the course of decades to still work with him. They just keep wanting to work with him. And I think that says a lot like that. So, I mean, so it speaks really positive. But again, I've never met the man more than once to really have an opinion on that. Hector Jeter writes, John, when's the Gladiator / movie club starting? Oh, man, I don't know. That's one I've been trying to get going. I just never had time. So that's probably, for those of you who don't know what Hector's talking about, one of the things we wanted to do in our Patreon group was once a week or once every 2 weeks, do a Patreon movie club. And the first one we were going to do was Gladiator, where we would say, okay, pick such and such a movie. This is the movie we're doing for Movie Club this week. And then we would do a live video with me and the Patreon supporters, and we would just talk for a half hour, an hour about that movie. Some of our favorite parts of it, some of the things we didn't like about it, blah, blah, blah. Just talk openly and that. But I just found as I got to the weekends, I just never had any time to do it. So, but it's still something I would love to do. I still love the idea of doing Movie Club with the Patreon supporters. So let's keep your eyes open, Hector. I still want to do it. I just got to find a time that will work and we can make it regular. Because I still want to do it, man. I still think it's a great idea and I still want to do it. All right. Haskell 420 writes, hey, John, been a loyal / daily watcher since March 2010. Oh, thanks so much, Haskell. I appreciate that, man. Regardless of the countless YouTube shows I watch, no one has had better on-screen chemistry than you, Schnepp, Harloff, and Ellis. My God, it was magical. Oh, those were good days. Those were good days. I still remember the first time the four of us did a video together. It was a lot of fun, and it was always fun. And yeah, those were good times. Unfortunately, some shit went down that made me just that caused me to want to quit, and I left Collider and all that kind of stuff. And then unfortunate stuff with the situation of Schnepp and all that. It is unfortunate, but those days were good days. Those days were very good days. All right. Sharon Carter writes, thoughts on the shower scene in American History X. First of all, I love American History X. It's a movie that I think more people need to see. I think it's a movie that more people need to see. It's important. It is shocking. I mean, all you got to say to somebody is Kirby. Like, I had never even heard of a Kirby before I saw American History X. And the shower scene, I mean, the movie is about, there's so much shock in American History X. It's hard to know where to start. It's graphic, it's visceral, it's disturbing, and it's shocking and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just one of the scenes that makes American History X the movie that it is. And I know a lot of people, because it's an older film now. I'm trying to look up what year the movie came out, and why can I not find it? Oh, that's why. Give me a second here. 1998. It is over 20 years old now. So I get there's probably a bunch of you guys who still haven't seen American History X. I get it's over 20 years old. I mean, I think it's probably Edward's best performance. I think a lot of people would probably agree with that. Check it out. Absolutely check it out. Let's see. Captain Chicken Pants. Again, I love that name. What if in Endgame they reset the timeline where the Skrulls win after Captain Marvel, and going forward we see a secret invasion? Skrulls are... no, I honestly don't think that. I don't think Skrulls... Robert and I talked about this the other day. I honestly... Everybody thinks, oh, well, since there are Skrulls in Captain Marvel, that means like a bunch of the MCU people are Skrulls and blows. and I could be wrong about this. I have no insider information on this whatsoever. This is just me as a fan speculating. I honestly think the Skrull issue just gets solved in Captain Marvel. And I don't think Endgame will have really anything to do with Skrulls. Again, I have no insider information on that. That's just me as a fan speculating. So giant grain. I don't think there really be anything to do with Skrulls or anything. I just don't think that's the way they're going to go. Josh Crichton writes, "You're a hooker. Jesus, I forgot. I just thought I was doing great with you." Oh, I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know off the top of my head. I know I've heard that line, but I don't know off the top of my head. And then Josh follows up, "I love my wife, but it's like living with the plague of locusts." John, imagine just saying those quotes to your wife, and which one would get a bigger reaction? I don't know. She would probably, again, I can't remember which movie that's from at all, but I can just imagine she'd probably laugh her ass off at either of them. Let's see. King Sound for Life writes, "Do you play WSOP every year?" Yeah, for the last, I guess, 5 years? 4 or 5 years. WSOP, for those of you who don't know, is the World Series of Poker. It's held every year. It's the biggest event in poker. Yes, I go play in the World Series tournament every year. I don't always play in the main event because there's like 40 different tournaments that happen at the World Series of Poker. The World Series takes place over the course of a month or so, and there are different events. Many of them are bracelet events. Those are big, significant events. And then there's the main event. The main event, which is the main tournament, it gets thousands of people entering. Like 7,000, 8,000 people will enter it. But the buy-in to get into the main event is $10,000. You got to put up $10,000 just to get into the main event. So what I do each year is I go to the World Series and I buy into one of the smaller ones, right? And if I cash or win money in one of the smaller tournaments, like I finish high enough on the charts that I get money, that's called cashing, then I will take that and use it to buy into a more expensive tournament. And then if I cash in that, I will use it to buy into another one. Now, so I've had many years where I've come home making money from the World Series, but I've only got into the main event like once. But again, so I never go there. I will never go to the World Series of Poker and pay $10,000 to buy in. I will buy into a smaller one, and if I win the money I can use to buy into it, then I do that. So I play every year, but I do not play in the main event every year. Let's see. Jethro Owl writes, "Wasn't a fan of the Extremely Wicked trailer. I understand what they're going for, but I would have liked a darker approach, tone in the vein of The House That Jack Built, which was one of the best movies." But here's the problem with that thinking, Jethro. You don't know the movie, right? Now, it's totally fine that the trailer didn't work for you. Yeah. But I don't think when we don't know what the movie is and you haven't seen the movie to say what the trailer should have been. Because what you think the trailer should have been may completely be contradictory to the movie itself, right? I'll say this, a lot of people got talking about that trailer, and that's what the purpose of a trailer is. So I would always hesitate about saying what they should have done with the trailer when we don't even know what the movie is. It's like saying, this guy should be playing this role in this movie. I'm like, but you haven't seen the movie. You have no idea if that guy would have been a good fit for that role or not, you know? So now I like the trailer very much. So I'm coming at it from that point of view. Totally cool if it didn't work for you, though. I mean, I have a lot of trailers that I don't like either. But I would be hesitant to say what they should have done with this trailer is this when we haven't seen the movie to really know what a trailer to that movie should be. So that's why we always got to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, I think, at any rate. At least that's what I think. I could be totally wrong about that. But that's kind of how I see it at any rate. But I think the trailer looks interesting. It's unfortunate the movie got dumped on Netflix, but we'll have to wait and see. Raymond Verrata writes, "Do the BAFTAs have any influence over Oscar voters? Rami Malek just won Best Actor. Roma won Best Picture. Mahershala is a lock at the Oscar." No, it doesn't. But like, these are all the same kinds of people in the same industry, right? So it quite often you'll see similar results in the BAFTAs and the Oscars. It doesn't mean one has influence over the other. It just means they're all looking at the same movies and they looked at them the same way. So I don't think, no, I don't think there's any influence. I really don't. I think most of the voting's already been done, as a matter of fact, because we're only a few weeks away now from the Oscars coming out. So I think the voting's maybe already been done. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to ask my this woman I work with who is a voting member of the Academy. But I think there's often similarities. But I think that just becomes they're looking at the same movies. They came to the same conclusions. I don't think it's because one has influence over the other. So, I mean, hey, Raimi could win. Roma, I think Roma's pretty much a lock. I didn't like Roma, but I think Roma's a lock to win Best Picture. But we'll have to see how that works out. All right. Eric DeRigi writes, I'm sending this super chat so John can keep talking about the cancerous views of film fans. His show, his rules, Campea 316, KIF equals keep it healthy. Well, thank you so much, Eric DeRigi. And look, I get carried away when I talk about stuff like that. I do. I admit that. But it's just, we're coming out of a year where we've seen so much toxicity in film fandom, so much negative, destructive, awful perversions of what film fandom is supposed to be, that when I see somebody saying, and granted, maybe I overreact. What? An Italian overreacting to something? Never. Anyway, maybe I overreact. But when I do see somebody come along and suggest, hey, there's this somebody in the movie industry who said something that politically I don't agree with, so I'm boycotting their movies. Coming out of a year that has been so toxic, filled with so many negative agendas, and everything that has done nothing but hurt and harmed the film fan community and split and divided the film fan community and like turned film fans against film fans and all that kind of stuff. I react to that because I do think there's been a lot of cancerous stuff in film fandom. You know, film fandom's supposed to be a place where we all like different things and we can celebrate the fact that we like different things and try to appreciate each other's point of views, call each other crazy and nuts and get into debates. But yes, but at the bottom of it, respecting each other as film fans and blah, blah, blah. And just coming to the close of such an awful year of so much negative stuff in film fandom and toxicity and all this kind of nonsense and negative agendas, I admit my back gets up and I react when I see somebody in my show come in and say, so-and-so said something I didn't like, so I'm going to boycott this movie. It's like, that is the epitome of destructive, cancerous film fandom. I mean, it's just, and maybe I overstate it, maybe I overplay it, whatever, my prerogative to do so, because it's my show. But yeah, it just triggers that whole thing about, just reminds me again of just how brutal this year has been. One of the worst years ever for film fandom. Should have been one of the best years for film fans, but for film fandom, it's been maybe the most brutal year for film fandom I can ever remember. And yeah, I see stuff like that, and it is what it is. It bothers me, and I think it should bother more people. Anyway, thanks for that, Eric. Anyway. One Yu-Gi-Oh! 11 writes, Maleficent 2, can't we just get a live-action Sleeping Beauty? Yeah, so they are shooting Maleficent 2. If they're not already done shooting, I'm not a big fan of Maleficent. Now, Disney's been doing a really good job of doing their live-action incarnations of their classic animated stuff, but I didn't think Maleficent was all that good. Angelina Jolie was awesome. Angelina Jolie was great her performance in the movie was great, but I just never thought the movie was all that good. Certainly, I think they've gotten a lot better at their stuff. So I don't really know why they're doing a Maleficent 2 when they got some other things. Like maybe they should just listen to you, Yu-Gi-Oh! Just do a live action Sleeping Beauty. But hey, listen, just because I didn't like Maleficent all that much doesn't mean a lot of other people didn't. So hey, who knows? Hey, maybe this will be the new box office record. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But at least Angelina Jolie's coming back. I did think she was terrific in the role, even if I didn't like the movie. All right. Haskell 420 writes, John, as a reminder to you and those watching, after your show's over, search YouTube for JT Mahoney. He's one who created many best of Schnepp and best of Campea videos from 40 minutes to over 2 hours. Well, thank you for sharing that, Haskell. Yeah, I've seen a couple of those pop up in my on my news feed, and yes, I would highly encourage hop on YouTube, search for Best of Schnepp. I'm sure you will just be entertained for however long those videos are. And I'm sure in a lot of those videos, you're going to get the Tetris movie stuff and the Aunt May stuff, which were, to me, two of the great highlights of the truly great John Schnepp. Thanks for sharing that, Haskell. I appreciate that, man. All right. Big for Adam and Alfie Gamer writes, hashtag Savage Campea, hashtag middle finger. You tell him, JC. Again, I admit maybe I get carried away. But thank you for that. Rugo Calvin writes, be water, my friend, is Bruce Lee's quote. Now, is that from the interview where Bruce is sitting down with the interviewer and he's talking about water and stuff like that? I remember that interview. I don't remember that line. Because we all know that famous, it's a terrific, you should look it up, this great, I believe it's even black and white. It's Bruce Lee sitting down doing this television interview and he's just talking about his philosophy. And he talks about, I remember him talking about water, but I don't remember that line. That's interesting, Rugo. Thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate that. Kari Neves writes, an actor is just a paid employee. Hundreds of other folks work on movies. Boycotting all their hard work because of one employee doesn't make sense to me. And again, to me, like, there are things worth getting upset about. Like, to me, the line is a guy who beats and hospitalizes women. Call me crazy. That bothers me. But people who just have different opinions and say things that just politically don't fit with you. Dudes, there's lots of people who say things politically that I don't agree with on the left and the right. It has nothing to do with the movies. It has nothing to do with my anyway, that's just kind of my thought on that. Daniel Quintana writes, I'm surprised no one has brought this up, but was that Ultron's voice over an Endgame trailer? Love you, John, in a platonic way only, though. Why? Why only platonic? I think I'm a sexy man. It's funny, Danny. Actually, on yesterday's open mic, somebody wrote in and asked about that. I don't think that was James Spader at all. I mean, it could be wrong because clearly there are a number of people, because like I said, somebody wrote into the show yesterday asking the exact same thing. Clearly there are people who heard that and thought it was Ultron. So maybe there's something to it. All I can say is I went back and watched it again. I'm like, that's not even close to Ultron or James Spader, but maybe it is. Because there's more than just a couple of people who are wondering it. So maybe this is one of those situations where it could be, but I really don't think it was. We'll find out. We're 75 days away now. I think we're 75 days away from Avengers Endgame. So we will know soon enough, Daniel. We'll know soon enough. All right. Let's see. Koa1708 writes, since you are connected with the Asian culture, well, I don't know how connected I am with I am married. My family is Asian because I'm married into an Asian family. Do you know about the Asian drama scene? Do you think things like that would work in U.S. culture? No, I know nothing about the Asian drama scene, anything like that. So I am the wrong guy to ask. I know lumpia is delicious and chicken adobo is something I could eat 5 times a week. But that's about the extent, despite the fact that I have Asian family, that's about the extent of my understanding of anything. So no, I don't know much about the Asian drama culture. I don't. Haskell420 writes, one last for me because I'm broke. John, please bring back your segment to your show. Movies that turn 10, 20, and sometimes 30 years old. Fans love it. I am thinking about that, actually. It's funny you mentioned that. But I'm thinking about taking one day a week. It used to be a thing we did at AMC. And then when I took the AMC Movie News division and saved everybody's jobs and brought it all over to Complex, AMC wanted to stay on as a sponsor. And so AMC continued to sponsor the show. One of the things they asked was that a couple times a week, we have segments that are AMC sponsored segments. And one of the segments they thought would be something they could sponsor is like a rewind, if you will, of talking about the films that celebrate significant anniversaries that week, as sponsored by AMC. Now, we stopped doing it once AMC stopped being a sponsor of the show, because our agreement with AMC at the time was to sponsor the show for 1 year. So we did the 1 year, and then they stopped their sponsorship, which we were all very grateful that they were sponsors for a year. It's something I've thought about bringing back. because I always find it completely interesting. So you know what, Haskell? I'm going to put that on the radar. I think I may end up doing that. So yeah, I think I will, because I think it's fun and I think it's interesting. So maybe we'll do that. All right. T3 Medias writes, I remember when Schnepp coined Sweaty Nerd on AMC talking about a picture of Gotham Bank for Batman vs. Superman, mimicking a nerd typing dripping sweat freeze frame. I think he coined the phrase, and by the way, sweaty nerds is a phrase that has been around a long time. It just wasn't made popular until Schnepp made it popular. But I think he was using, I could be wrong about this. I could be wrong. But I think he was using that phrase. I think he was using that phrase even before Batman versus Superman. I think he was using it even before Batman versus Superman. I could be wrong, but I think, but that's a cool moment, though. That is a cool moment you bring up T3 Medias. I like that a lot. All right, Eric DeRiggi writes, oh my gosh, we're at 3 hours. Okay, so today's show has already been 3 hours. So I will ask, guys, we're getting close to the end here. Please don't send in any more because my throat is about to expire. So let's finish off the ones we have. Eric DeRiggi writes, I think it's obvious the Skrull crisis is solved in one movie. I agree, Eric, but now we could be wrong, right? I mean, that's to me, it's again, I have no insider person at Marvel who is feeding me information telling me that the Skrulls are only in Captain Marvel and not in anything else. Nobody's telling me that. I'm just saying that from a fan's point of view. I think they're just going to wrap this all up in one movie. So you and I are in agreement here, Eric. But I think we would be naive. I think you and I would both be a little bit naive not to acknowledge that it's at least possible they could do more outside of that. I think they absolutely can. I believe they're not, but it is totally possible they could. So let's just keep that in mind as we go in to watch the movie. Santez Henderson writes, hey, John, I just started Battlestar 04 loving it. Dude, my all-time favorite television show. I always talk about my 3 all-time favorite television shows. Spartacus and Sons of Anarchy, and they switch between the 2 and 3 spot. They go back and forth. But number 1 is absolutely, number 1 to me is absolutely, is absolutely Battlestar Galactica. The Ronald D. Moore Battlestar Galactica. And that is my all-time favorite. It's so, it did not end as strong as a lot of people wanted it to end. I still like the ending, but it didn't end as strong. But as a whole, it is my all-time favorite series. To me, it's better than Game of Thrones. It's better than Breaking Bad. It's better than The Wire. It's better than, to me, it's just the greatest show ever made. I love that, and I'm super stoked you started watching it. All right, Josh Crichton writes, the quotes are from Arthur and Quiz. Oh, Quiz Show. I don't recognize the one from Arthur, but Quiz Show. By the way, Quiz Show, great movie. Another great one that's older now. Ralph Fiennes, at least I'm pretty sure it's the Ralph Fiennes one. Hold on, let me just double check and make sure so I'm not sending you guys down the wrong direction. Ralph Fiennes, John Turturro, amazing movie. I forgot Hank Azaria was in that. I believe it was nominated for Best Picture. Let me just take a look here. Yes, it was nominated for Best Screenplay. Robert Redford directed it, by the way. Best Director, and it was nominated for Best Picture. Love that movie. It's like 24 years old now, but if you get a chance to watch Quiz Show, watch it. Thanks for bringing that up, Josh. All right, Bradley Gray just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Bradley. I appreciate that, man. Eric DeRiggi writes, who would you choose to have a roundtable discussion about film history with? They could be dead or alive. I choose Orson Henson Kurosawa. Well, I think it would be Kurosawa. I think it would be Steven Spielberg. I think it would be Alfred Hitchcock. And I think it would be George Lucas. I think that's for me. I mean, there's a lot of different combinations of answers there that would all be the right answer. But yeah, I think that would be a killer table. That would be very hard to beat. That's a hard table to beat right there. All right. Final question today comes from Bradley. Oh, who forgot to write his question when he put in the previous super chat. Don't worry about it, Bradley. I appreciate that anyway. Bradley writes, hey, John, forgot to write my question on that last one. Are you going to Star Wars Celebration this year? If so, any plans for meetups? No, I'm not. I just, look, I've shared this before. I'll share it again. I loved Star Wars Celebration Orlando. I had a great time at Star Wars Celebration Orlando. And ever since I came home from Star Wars Celebration Orlando, I was planning on going to the next Star Wars Celebration. And then all the crap hit the fan. And I'll be honest with you, as much as Star Wars is the air that I breathe, I got really turned off the Star Wars film community. I got really turned off the Star Wars film fan community. It just became a depressing, awful thing. And I'm not saying I'm right to feel that way. I'm not saying I'm wrong to feel that way. I'm just saying that's the way I felt. And there was no longer joy. You know, when I think about the Star Wars fan community, it always gave me joy. And this year, it stopped giving me joy. And I chose not to book anything to go to Star Wars Celebration Chicago because I just felt it was to be kind of depressing for me to go. So I decided not to go. Now, I hope it's amazing. I know a lot of people are going to go. I hope it's fantastic, and I hope everybody has a good time, and I hope they drop some wonderful stuff, and I hope it's great. And hopefully it'll be something that starts to really put the pieces back together again for the Star Wars fan community. But yeah, it's been a brutal year for that. It's been a brutal year. And it just kind of made me go, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And maybe I'll regret it. I mean, maybe I will. But yeah, I made the decision a while ago not to go. But I hope everybody has a fabulous time, and I hope it's great, and I hope everybody just has a really good time and can come together and celebrate Star Wars and all that kind of stuff. And I hope it's a good thing. I hope it's a good thing. All right, guys. Woo! That was an eventful open mic, wasn't it? That was pretty damn eventful. 3 hours and 5 minutes. So it was a pretty eventful Sunday. Talked about a lot. We got worked up and we got carried away and we talked about a lot of stuff. But you know what? That's what I love to do. I love to talk about stuff and do it with my fellow film fans, and that's always good to do. So I'm glad you guys were here and being a part of it today. Listen, guys, don't forget, the John Campea Show returns tomorrow. Me, Robert Meyer Burnett, Ashley Whalen, of course, will be back in studio. Make sure you guys come by and join us for that as well. Also, I'm going to maybe do a little game play along later tonight. I don't know, because Anne's out of town today, so I might do a little bit of play along, play some video games later tonight. I don't know, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. Because maybe I just don't want to talk anymore because my throat is killing me, guys. Anyway, guys, listen. Thank you for not only being here, but being a part of the film fan community. It's having other film fans in the community that makes the community worthwhile. And I appreciate each and every one of you when you agree with me, when you disagree with me, whatever. It's always good to have discourse, and I'm glad you guys are here. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thank you so much for hanging in for 3+ hours, guys. You guys are champs. That'll do it for me for now, and until next time, bye-bye.